It's a sad. This is a sad episode, man. I don't know if you watched the Titanic in preparation for this, but it's fucking sad, man.
I did not watch the Titanic in preparation for this. I listened to several podcasts. I did some research. I did my own research, Arian. I don't trust the Hollywood libs to tell me what the real story behind the Titanic is. But that's fine if you feel like you're prepared with all the facts from, the mainstream propaganda. That's okay.
I am not. I am not prepared, but I did take the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and my heartstrings are pulled that a bunch of people died at sea. Mm-hmm. It's sad.
It's a tough way to go.
Drowning and fire are the two. Like those are the, if you go out like that, it's probably fire's the worst for me, and then drowning, because like no air is just tough.
No air is really tough, and even in your last minutes in the water out of the Titanic, you're just really cold, which sucks. Just being in cold water is awful.
Freezing to death, I have heard, just as sort of like the hypothermia hits, you start to feel really warm, and it's sort of like your body releases.
I have heard, he said. You've heard from people that froze to death?
Like people on Everest and stuff, they sort of they freeze to death, and it's like their body just sort of like the blood freezes before they can figure out what's really going on.
I've heard stuff like that too, where your body mostly just shuts down. So you get really, really cold. You're really cold for a while. Yeah. But then as soon as you start to get into dangerous levels of being cold, your body just kind of goes into this warm zone where you just kind of drift out.
And then that's when you slip under the water and you're too cold to like struggle to breathe.
Yeah.
Then you just go down.
Be wrong.
Yeah.
Be wrong.
Fire would be terrible.
Fire would be awful. I think
fire's number one.
Choking would be bad, because honestly, if I was choking on something, if I was at home eating a meal, let's say I was by myself in my apartment and I'm eating General Tso's chicken, and I try to eat a piece and I just start choking on it, and my last thoughts are, this is the corniest way to die ever. Like a fucking piece of chicken is taking me out while I'm alone in my house. Like at least let me go out on like a bad batch of acid or something like that.
I would like to see. Remember how we did the stats? Like if you should do stats, if like what would your stat line be if you could die? And like what stat? This would be an interesting stat. The amount of people that the last thought in their head is like either not like this or like, I mean, fuck it. If I'm gonna go out, this is the way to go out. Like I want to know what the percentage points on that one would be.
Yeah. You want to do a real quick draft of the best ways to die? If you
Best ways to die?
If you had to pick, if it's gotta happen.
In your sleep.
In your sleep is number one.
And it's not number one, dog. I'll tell you why it's number one. That is the folly, and I'll tell you why. They feel that shit. They feel that shit in their dreams. And this is how I know. I had a panic attack that woke me up out of my sleep. And in my dream, my chest was heavy as hell. In my dream, so I had a panic attack. They feel that shit. So it might sound sweet, but they still feel that shit. I guarantee they feel that shit.
I think if people just die in bed, they're like, oh, it was really peaceful. But sometimes, they might
Not
feel
peaceful.
it, or they're having a heart attack while they happen to be laying down, and they're like, oh shit, this is the big one. What did Sanford and Son say? What was his wife's name? Elizabeth? Was Elizabeth, I'm coming for you? That dude had a heart attack like every episode. It was an awesome show.
I never really watched it.
I only watched it because I would watch Atlanta Braves baseball games with my grandparents, and on TBS, that was their rain delay go-to show. Was just here's another. We're gonna pump another Sanford and Son into your living room.
TV Land.
Yeah,
that was where it always aired with Bonanza
and MASH.
Yeah,
MASH
was great.
I would say during sex would be pretty good.
Like of a heart attack or something.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey said that his dad had always said that he was going to go out making love to his wife, which is weird for like your dad
to say to your son.
Always be saying all the time. Yeah. And then sure enough, one day
he did.
They were fucking and his dad had a heart attack and died.
Shut the fuck up.
I heard that's how James Gandolfini died.
During sex?
Yeah.
Damn.
That'd be, respect to a legend.
I think it sucks for like the cleanup, but I think just the bullet to the brain, man. Nice, like you don't feel much, just boom, get it over with.
But bullet to the brain,
no struggle.
But bullet to the brain where it's not like you're in a holdup. Like it's a drive-by. You don't even know what happened.
Just boom.
That's what I'm saying. I think context matters too.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to have a gun in your head and you know it.
If you get shot in your head, I feel like it's a lot better if you do it jumping in front of a pregnant woman. who's about to get shot.
Yeah, true.
And then you're a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to just be like, I don't know, you're in a gun store and you're shopping for a gun and you hold it, it goes off and it hits you in the head accidentally.
That's true.
That's a bad way to die.
What else?
Jeez, this is dark, dude.
No, death is a big part of life.
It is the most important part of life, actually.
Everybody dies.
It's allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one guy, long time ago, that has this telephone game story about
All
him.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. I said allegedly.
Hey,
He did die.
Do you guys think
He
there's
did die.
more evidence
But did he?
for
But see,
Bigfoot?
okay, but that's the thing. Hold on. But that's the thing about this whole Jesus story, right? It's like I'm not even against it, right? It was low key a good guy, right? High key, good guy.
Low-key Jesus was pretty chill.
Like, I don't really have a problem with Jesus, right? He said a lot of dope shit, but like, you died, right, and then you came back. So like, what was the sacrifice? There was really no sacrifice. It was a temporary, like he was in a coma, like he was in a.
Okay.
But then he disappeared after to go to heaven.
That's what I'm saying. So this is all allegedly. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
If there was a dude who survived a crucifixion, though, that's pretty badass. Like
Yeah,
crucifixion.
crucifixion would not be a fun way to
They
go.
still do that shit in some places, and it's fucked.
Jesus didn't
Crucify
tap.
people?
Yeah, they like they're because of the weight of your
Jesus
arms. Yeah,
I've seen a shirt that says that in like the MMA community.
I was about to say it had to be an MMA
Yeah,
shit.
I mean, you see some of those guys getting armbarred and their elbows pop out,
oh man.
and then the ref has to stop the fight. That's what happened to Jesus.
submission
was-
moves. People who are like sick at submissions are like some of the scariest people.
I feel like they're almost like wild animals
Yeah,
that know the perfect killing technique.
Khabib.
Yeah, it's not. I got one of my first times doing jujitsu. I got tapped by a fucking 16-year-old who weighs like 145. So I
Exactly.
just didn't know what I was doing, and this fucker tapped me, and I was like, "No fucking way, dog."
You're
I
just
wanted to fight him. He was like a fan. She was like,
Yeah.
"I'm sorry, man." I was like, "Bro, you got me. You got me."
you wanted to fight him, but the same shit would happen again if you try to fight him.
100%. No, I can get him now. I can get him now. No, I can get him now. I know what I'm doing now.
So
He has
Bill,
no chance.
Bill, you just said, is there more evidence for Bigfoot or Jesus?
Yeah, dude. I mean, think about it. Like, let's do a hypothetical scenario. Could you provide more evidence for Bigfoot than God?
Then God or Jesus?
Yeah, there's two different people allegedly.
Jesus, because I definitely believe that Jesus was a person. Like, there's way too many accounts from various different sources.
That's debatable. I usually concede that just to get the conversation going, but it's not cut and dry. It's definitely-
Wait,
I
that's-
love
I
that
would-
Arian has that like in his back pocket. He's like, usually I concede that point. Like you
Yeah.
get into debates on whether or not Jesus lived.
Hey,
how many times
yeah.
a week?
They
Like
tried
4 or
me
5?
on that one
I used to a lot, because when you come out as atheist, like everybody, you get, especially in the South, you like I went to the University of Tennessee, so where it's like it was the Bible Belt. Like one of my really good friends now, the first thing we talking about, you in a group of like kids talking, and where everybody's from different places. And the first thing we talked about was religion. And like I told him I wasn't Christian. And I was like, I don't believe in Jesus. And he was like, you don't believe in Jesus? And I was like, nah. He's like, well, you're going to hell, right? Like I was the first person he's ever saw that didn't believe in Jesus. Like this is pre-internet, so it was an anomaly.
I'm actually fascinated by something you said, though, because, like, obviously you can debate if Jesus was divine, whatever, the Son of God. I don't know that I've ever heard somebody say Jesus didn't exist. Like, there was a dude named Jesus in Nazareth. Like, whether he did some of the things you think he did or not,
Right.
I don't know that I've ever heard somebody dispute his existence.
No, that's definitely disputable. What I'm saying is more than likely, I usually concede that is what I'm saying. Yeah, it was probably a dude that existed that did some cool shit, like was like nice to people or whatever. And I think his legend grew, and I think that's what the whole story. It's like a Bible game of telephone. Like one day you like help a lady carry your groceries. 2,000 years later, you walked on water. It's probably something like that.
But I do remember like the Romans had accounts of a dude named Jesus who was riling up all the Hebrews. Like he was, I mean, like they had like police reports about from all like their, are they colonies or territories that they've conquered? And like, yeah, man, there's a dude named Jesus. He's riling up all the Hebrews, telling them there's one God.
You know what? I want to do a podcast about the kidnapping and arrest of Jesus sponsored by Roman Swipes. That would be perfect, wouldn't it? Speaking of Roman, they're an advertiser this week. Shout out Roman Swipes. This conversation about the kidnapping and arrest of Jesus Christ by the Romans is brought to you by Roman Swipes. Most guys have tried different ways to last longer, but thinking about baseball doesn't always work. The folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman Swipes, the secret to longer lasting sex. Roman Swipes, they're a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, they're easy to use, they're fast acting, they don't require prescription. Best of all, they can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging. Each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They're super easy to use. You just take the swipes out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, you're good to go. That's it. Go to GetRoman.com/dose. GetRoman.com/dose. You can use your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/dose. That's what we call seamless product integration into a podcast.
That was the most impromptu, beautifully woven together thing I've ever been a part of.
That makes me believe in Jesus Christ. The fact that all came together like that.
Honestly, that is a great.
If I don't believe after that, I mean,
that's 1 point for Jesus, 0 points for Bigfoot on today's podcast.
All right, so the reason why I say there's probably more evidence for Bigfoot, right, is because the accounts that we have of Jesus in the Bible, biblically, none of them were eyewitness, right? So at the very least, the Bigfoot witnesses are at least eyewitnesses. None of the accounts of Jesus are actually eyewitnesses. They're written 40 to 100 years after he was supposedly got crucified.
What about the apostles, though?
No, none of them saw him.
But they all knew him.
No, there's no eyewitness accounts of Jesus Christ in the Bible. There's zero.
So at the Council of Nicaea, when they're writing the books of the Bible and they write the Gospel of Luke, the Gospel of Paul, et cetera, I thought that they took some of those accounts from letters that were written by them. I don't know. I could be really wrong. I haven't really looked into it that much. Big T probably knows.
Paul never met Jesus.
Didn't they go fishing together?
Did Paul?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just double back. Where's the fact check guy? Go ahead, Billy.
No one's ever gone fishing with Bigfoot that we know of.
That's true. Did Jesus just go fishing? Was he just like he was a dude that had like
There were a couple times he went fishing.
Chevy Silverado, Yeti cooler in the back.
Yeah, none of the New Testament authors ever met Jesus.
No free ads.
That's true. Yeah, the only company I'll give a free ad to is Bass Pro Shop for their pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee. That is the most amazing place.
I saw your tweet about that. We should talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's the most amazing place. The history of that building is fascinating too, of how it eventually became a Bass Pro Shop, and it's the sister city of Memphis, Egypt, which is why they built the pyramid there. I think that the Bass Pro Shop in Memphis, Tennessee is the best building in the United States. I think it's number one. You can try to argue White House to me. You can try to argue whatever you want. The Guggenheim, I don't even know if people think that's a great museum, but as for my money, there's nothing that symbolizes the greatness of America more than the Bass Pro Shop pyramid on the Mississippi River in Memphis, Tennessee.
Spin zone. I've been preemptively creating conspiracy theories that haven't been made up yet that I don't actually believe, but I think people would connect the dots on.
I like it.
What if Bass Pro Shops and its subsidiaries are worshiping the sun god, and that's why they erected it?
Ra?
Yeah, they're worshiping Ra in some sort of weird thing.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why the fish is the logo though?
The fish probably, has to do with some hunter-gatherer stuff. And
it's no different from hieroglyphics, Arian.
Definitely.
Is there fish for hieroglyphics?
Have they been implicated in any human sacrifice, QAnon type stuff?
Bass Pro Shop?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know.
On some 4chan message board, there's definitely some point where the Bass Pro Shop pyramid, they're doing human sacrifices, Aztec stuff, and
dude, the Bass Pro Shop pyramid, it's got like a hotel inside of it, and you can get a room that looks out over the indoor lake that they have that's stocked with fish.
That's actually so cool.
I know. Somebody tweeted that at me this weekend, and if I lose the part of my take bet where I have to go across the country in a car for the Super Bowl, I'm absolutely staying in the Bass Pro Shop pyramid. It's so cool.
Arian, so
I didn't know how dope. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this says Matthew, Mark, Peter, John, and Paul all knew Jesus personally,
No, they didn't.
and obviously
Where's that from? Where's that from? It was all those accounts were written like 40 years after he died, like or even more. Where are you getting that from?
This is NPR, which is actually generally fake news, so maybe that's not the best place, but
Like there are biblical historians who concede that point. That's not even arguable. Like it's not even an arguable point. They didn't nobody knew him.
I want to talk about this one town in Alaska that I really wish I'd caught. A listener, a Macrodosian, sent it to me, but there's this town in Alaska that was a fishing town. It was a cannery. They were canning salmon, and it was settled back in like the 1700s, and around the 1940s, it was reported that several of the sheep hunters had gotten killed outside this town, and basically a bunch of dismembered bodies and some of the missing had washed ashore, and all the residents fled the town because something was killing all these hunters and townspeople, and they think it was a bunch of Bigfoots. But it hasn't really been substantiated because everyone ran away.
I like that. It's like the Croatoan mystery in the Roanoke colonies.
Yeah.
Where the entire place was evacuated. All they found was like something carved into a tree. I always think it was a monster named Croatoan. That's what me and the Hard Factor guys, we used to have a theory about Roanoke, because growing up, they teach you all about Virginia history. Yeah. And so we learned about the colonies there. And so we came up with this big backstory, almost like a Greek mythological origin tale of Croatoan, the sea monster, that just emerged from the ocean, blasting AC/DC and wiped out the colonies. But awesome. It sounds, yeah, it is.
We should do a Roanoke episode.
Yeah, Roanoke. There are some crazy theories behind that, but I like any theory of a town that got abandoned because it got attacked by monsters.
Yeah,
I'm always on board for that. So that was this week's episode of Bigfoot or Jesus, brought to you by Billy Football.
Bigfoot had a lot of eyewitness accounts.
Does he really?
A lot of people have said they've seen Bigfoot.
How many people credibly have said that they see Bigfoot?
When you get into that, when you start throwing those kind of things around, muddying the waters here.
They have found skeletons of Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, Gigantopithecus.
No one's found any Jesus skeletons.
That's a good point.
They
still
have the
been
washcloth.
no Jesus bones.
They've got the Shroud of Turin.
From Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
They have a Yeti scalp.
What if the Shroud of Turin was like Jesus' do-rag?
What if Jesus was just Bigfoot shaving?
And he goes out there waved up in the Middle East?
No, he's a white guy. We know he's a white guy, Arian. He has blonde hair.
Hey, Big T, is Jesus white? Was Jesus white?
Probably not, no.
That's wow. That's impressive. I did not expect that.
I mean, he lived in the Middle East, so
I agree.
I saw a TikTok. I almost sent it to you guys. I saw a TikTok come up on my For You page, and it was like, what's one thing that everyone thinks is in the Bible but isn't? And the girl like stitching was like white people.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. Like white people were just like the and in Game of Thrones, the guys who live north of the wall, I'm forgetting their names.
White Walkers?
The wildlings.
The wildlings, yeah.
Yeah.
Wildlings.
Basically, like, you had a bunch of these, like, super pale dudes who grew up in the Arctic who just, like, raided down Europe, and that's why most fits white nowadays. Like, the Romans were probably, like, much darker than anyone thinks.
They were, yeah, like, Greek, Italian.
Yeah.
Like, real Greek Italian, like, darker skin, darker hair.
Yeah.
Groping over here.
And Arian, I think I see where you and I were, where we were talking about different stuff. We agree Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all those guys knew Jesus. We just don't know that they wrote all of those books. That's what you're saying?
No, I don't think that they were well, I mean, it's questionable that any of the niggas wrote any of that shit, right?
Well, we don't know exactly who wrote all of the Gospels. We assume some of it was those dudes, but we're not entire. There's no like. This is what I'm saying. Like, we don't know for a fact that they actually
accompanied Jesus and hung out. Like there's like none of this shit is in any way kind of like provable. So it's like Bigfoot has more eyewitness accounts.
Okay.
By far.
Actually, that's probably, if you probably looked at the actual numbers because of how small the population of Jerusalem was compared to today, like there probably were more people who've claimed to see Bigfoot than the people who claim to have seen Jesus.
We need to fact check this. Seems dubious.
Population of Jerusalem in Jesus' time. How is that already in my search history? What?
I think
They're listening.
the algorithm has you dead to rights, Billy.
Population of Jerusalem. I love how it's in Jesus' time, which I felt in my brain is like a stupid way to describe like biblical times, and it just had that. Like what? The population of Jerusalem was 882,000. Actually, that's higher than I thought.
Talking about there's 1 million people in Jerusalem.
No way, no chance.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is in 2016.
Yep.
Okay.
Nigga, man.
Does that mean that Jesus is back?
Okay.
Jesus is back.
Well, never really left.
That's right. He's in your heart.
Where two or more are gathered.
The population of Jerusalem was about 50K, and it rose to like 125 during festivals when like the farmers would come in to the city. So yeah, so probably I would say only 10,000 people probably witnessed Jesus in person.
He didn't go like on tour. I thought he went on tour. Did like road shows.
But he must have
Did
been
he?
only touring Jerusalem, so the most people he probably seen was 125,000.
Wait, he only went around Jerusalem? He's like a band that never got out of its first city? I thought that he went all over the place.
Well,
and
travel was a bit more
Well, the
difficult.
apostles are going to
get a fucking cart, to get a wagon.
The gospel claimed that Jesus visited numerous sites around modern-day Israel, Palestine, Egypt, and Lebanon.
So he's stuck in his area.
Yeah.
He didn't go international.
No, I don't think he stepped in modern-day Europe.
Wow. I didn't know that. Just a local
Egypt is
local
Africa.
How
celebrity.
far do you think he went?
I don't know. It's just I thought that it's probably dumb of me to think this, but I thought that he made his way like to Africa, up to Italy, Rome. I guess he was only 33 when he died. So.
The apostles, they were the spread, but you know who's been in Asia, spotted in North America, South America too, and there was even sightings in Russia? Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, fact. And then its brother, the Yeti.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was that you were saying a second ago, Big T, about anywhere two people are gathered?
Yeah, where two or more believers are gathered, so is the Lord, something like that.
So the Lord isn't with you when you're dolo.
Well, I think he can be. I think it's just like let me find.
You gotta say his name 5 times like Candyman.
Yeah.
Like Beetlejuice. Then he appears.
No.
So the Lord's only with you when you're with somebody else that believes.
Matthew 18:20, for where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them.
So God isn't with you when
I
you're by
think
yourself.
the
That's what
message is.
That's what you just said.
Okay. No,
Oh man, it's
not what
pretty
I said.
cut and dry when you out here dolo. You are not being represented.
That's not
by-
true.
by
Jesus can
Jesus
be
and
with
God,
you
Inc.
anytime.
2 or 3 or more.
Oh my goodness.
It's kind
There's a
of
lot of silly. Would you admit this, Big? There's a lot of silly shit written in the Bible. Like there's some silly ass shit in it. Like
I don't know that silly is the word I'd use. It's a fascinating book. Even if you're not, if you're only, there's a lot of murder in the Bible. There's a lot of sex
That's
in the
silly.
Bible.
that's not silly.
It's a fascinating read.
All
Even
right,
if
so-
you're not interested in the religious aspects of it.
I'm actually
No, I agree. So I'm not in the camp of like the Bible is horseshit. Nothing in it is good. There's some good things in there, but there's some silly shit in there as well. It's
Like what would you
it's like-
categorize as silly?
if it's in the Old Testament, it says if your daughter is not a virgin on her wedding day, you stone her at her father's
We're under
door.
New Testament law.
But okay, I hate that argument
Who's
from
we?
Christians.
The world.
no.
This is why I hate.
What about
this is
our
why I
Jewish
hate-
friends? It's Yom Kippur tomorrow.
Happy
They
Yom
don't believe
Kippur.
that they have.
Yes.
But
Have a
this is
great
why I
day.
hate that argument. Big T. This is why I hate that argument for Christians, because the Lord also says that my word is forever, right? So shit that he used to say should go in the new after the Old Testament as well. there's a lot of conflicting ideologies in the Bible. One of them is if I say something as the Lord and I'm perfect and I'm omnipotent and omniscient, right? The shit that I say in the first half at halftime, it should apply after halftime.
Well, there were a lot of things in the Old Testament where God punished people for their sins, and then Jesus came to absolve the world of its sins.
Nigga, I made all the planets and the stars and the universe and the laws of physics.
Correct.
And I'm petty. And I try to get revenge on niggas.
I love thinking of the
that's silly.
I love thinking of the New Testament as like a halftime adjustment.
Yeah.
Just like going.
It was.
All right, we did
block and scheme isn't working.
we did a lot of good things in the first half out there.
We drowned a lot of babies with the flood. That was good. Good call on your.
We got it. We just got we got to tighten up a few things around the edges.
More
Go out there and
benevolent.
execute in the second half. You remember that old Twitter account, Shit My Dad Says? That's what Jesus should have called the Old Testament. He should have rebranded it. Because they did rewrite a lot of stuff and they changed a lot of the rules halfway through. I don't know why. Did God get too politically correct in the New Testament?
No, I'm
Kind
actually
of lost his fastball.
They tried to cancel him. Cancel him.
No, I'm a proponent of religion in that as long as there's always stuff we cannot explain about existence, our world, and everything, there is always room for belief in a higher power and any teachings that you deem are moral and good.
I'm of the belief that if something that you find comfort in, that gives you faith, that makes you lead a more productive life, that makes you feel better, that helps you out and makes you help your community, that's a good thing overall. So I got no qualms whatsoever with Christianity. I think that there's a lot of good stuff that's been brought to the world out of Christianity, but there's also been a lot of evil that's been done in the name of Christianity.
I'm in 100% agreement. I used to be in the all religion is toxic, but I don't think that. And the reason why I don't think that, if people actually like studied their religion and lived by it, I would say that it would be toxic. But that's not how we interpret religion nowadays. I mean, I wouldn't say nowadays, I wasn't alive back then, but like for the most part, the way people exercise their religion, it's a communal aspect. It's a place of gathering. People worship, they pray, and there's a lot of good that comes, philanthropy. And for the most part, people don't read the shit, and it's just they follow. It gives you like a baseline idea of morality. And as long as y'all keep it, that's none of that shit bothers me. It's when people justify legislatively their moralities through a book that is demonstrably unprovable. And so when that starts happening, so that's when I say, okay, we have to step in order to have a cohesive society. It has to be secular, because if it's not, then you're gonna have wars about who's right about a book 2,000 years ago, and that's a recipe for war.
You could have somebody step up and be like, hey, I'm going to write these laws based on the Quran, and then people are going to be like, wait, no, that's not the book that you should be basing on. You should be basing on my book. So it's either all in or all out, I think, when it comes to legislation. Yeah, Billy?
What happens if, like, in 2,000 years that they're looking back at the text and it's like the Facebook user agreement document, like, to how they behave and, like, all those legislations? Like, what if that is the text?
Wait, so you're saying like religion, like the Bible?
Or like the Constitution?
I think Billy's kind of right that people do look at the Bible as the Facebook user agreement, where they like kind of scroll through it and then they kind of retain what they want from it, and then they click the box at the end that's like, I'm going to heaven. Whatever. I accept all the stuff that's in here. I'm not actually going to read the part about drowning babies, but I'm going to check that box at the end because I'm a good person.
The terms.
Yeah, the terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
that's not funny to you, but it's true, fam.
No, I think that's accurate for like a lot of people.
Like in the future,
the majority.
In Section 3 of the Facebook
I think that's a very blanket statement to make. But
I will go on record, and I would put my last dollar on the line that said I would say over 90%. 90% of practicing Christians have never read the Bible front to back. I will guarantee it.
So that's actually an interesting, like, literally read every word of. I haven't. 90's a lot.
To my point, because if you do, and once you do, right, you realize that it was made in a way that was it's a mosaic of writings. It's put together very haphazardly. And it was it's misogynistic. It's written through the lens of men that want to conquer land. Like that's if you look at it from like an unbiased point of view and just study it, it's not like this holy like grail of morality, because it's just not. You can justify shit all day long with it for sure, but it's just a really weird book, a collection of a lot of different writings. Like,
but you know, like back then, there was the concept of rules or any sort of, you know, being held responsible was so different to now. Like, we've been 2,000 years of like religion and some sort of idea of a moral or social construct that limits us. Back when they were just, you know, back then they had none of that.
Well, and for a long time too, it was you had to go to the leaders of the church who were in charge of interpreting the Bible and telling you what it meant and what it said. And it was just, okay, I trust blindly what this guy is telling me because I did not learn how to read growing up.
But literally, you know, when you play GTA, you just run around, get 5 stars, like don't do it, like, you know, like steal shit, like do crazy stuff in the game, like because you think you're on God mode and there's nothing that really bad can happen. People were just straight up living their lives like that, like 3,000 years ago.
Like just fuck it mode full time.
Yeah, they were on
full
fucking,
send
like,
all the time.
Like think about like Cain and Abel. Like Cain was. I was actually looking at this. There was this story that they recently discovered chimpanzees going to war with gorillas in a part of the Congo, and there was 27 chimpanzees, and they were living like totally symbiotically with the gorillas because there wasn't that much. There was enough resources
no
for
food
both of them.
scarcity or anything like that.
Then as soon as shit hit the fan, the chimps went nuts and like attacked the gorillas. I don't know what this has to do anything with like GTA mode.
I'm glad we got there.
I was thinking that this like happened super recently. This was like July 22nd, 2021. Yeah. There was like chimpanzee war versus gorillas.
This is way more interesting than the Bible talk. Yeah.
Right. But so, like, you know, did
they kill the gorillas or what?
Yeah,
there's no way they did.
No, they did. The chimps are gorillas are gentle giants. Chimps are absolute psychopaths. So you
but in a one-off, there's no way.
One-off, silverback of course beats a chimp no matter how big, but the chimps like were much more like gang fighting.
Were they using weapons and shit? Did they
hyenas versus lion type shit?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Did they break out like swords or spears?
No, it was actually really
savage.
The only gorillas that actually died were like young baby gorillas.
Oh, chimps have no morals. They went after women and children.
That's probably what I was thinking of. Like, like GTA mode.
So the chimps were like kind of insurgents. The gorillas are the superior fighting unit, but the chimps just have to convince the gorillas that they're crazy enough to do all the most fucked up shit and make them scared.
Like, there's no children in GTA.
That's a good point. Never thought about that.
Yeah, there's no children in GTA. Like you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Billy, please give us an update on the chimp versus gorilla war taking place in the Congo.
I will.
That's some heavy shit. Let's move.
I really think that's really good journalism, and Barshall should totally fund Billy and his frontline journalism in the chimp versus gorilla war in the Congo. I think that's good.
I would 100% be a war journalist in the chimp versus gorilla war.
Hey, wear a vest that says press and everything.
Bulletproof vest.
Get invited into like the chimpanzee's lair to do an interview with their leader. They blindfold.
Caesar is home.
It's me and Jane Goodall.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep moving because we've talked a lot about religion. We've got some things that we need to get to before we jump into Titanic stuff. I want to make sure that we get to these places.
Yeah. Do you want to say that we're doing the Titanic for this episode?
Yeah. So this is the Titanic episode. We talked about it a little bit at the top.
I don't think there was actually a formal intro.
Yeah, there wasn't a formal intro.
All right, I'll redo an intro. So when you hear me do the intro later, that was recorded after the fact, but we are going to do the Titanic.
Double back. I think it was a nice way to open up, but go ahead.
It was a good intro, got the discussion going, got the blood flowing a little bit, but we're going to get into the Titanic. And before we do, a couple things I want to address. One thing came up this weekend in the group chat, and that is the fact that Big T did not know, despite being a giant University of Tennessee Volunteers fan, that Arian Foster was in the movie Draft Day.
It's not that I didn't know, it's that I never thought about it, I guess. And I love that movie. I've written, I think, 2 blogs defending it separately. I just never thought about it. Like, and then I forget what I was looking at.
I honestly think the movie, I loved it, but if it didn't have the NFL licensing, if it was like made up teams,
right.
If it was the Cleveland Sharks and the San Antonio Snakes, it would be the worst movie ever made.
Yeah.
Like the worst movie ever made. But
I might agree to that.
But the fact that it had like the official licensing and had the team names and logos and colors and everything like that, I loved it.
That was a big movie. Like that was a good time to be in Cleveland. It was Draft Day. It was getting made about Cleveland Browns, even though it was about how bad we were. It was a good time to be in Cleveland.
So, Aaron, how did you get that gig?
I had been acting a little bit. I've done like I was on a couple of TV shows, and it was something I wanted to pursue at one point in time, and maybe I'll double back on it if I get bored enough. But I enjoyed the theater. Like I was in theater school in high school, stuff like that. So I enjoyed the art of it. And so my manager was like, yo, I can get you some auditions. So we did a couple auditions like in the off seasons before, and I landed a couple roles. And this opportunity came up because I think somebody from the movie hit the NFL offices and said, is there anybody that can act, but like for real, in the NFL? And they reached out to my people, and they were like, we saw you and that you might be interested in this, because they had a hard time finding actors that looked like football players but can act, and everybody that looked like a football player couldn't act. And so they reached out to me, and they had me audition. And actually, this is my claim to fame. I'm gonna tell my children this. Ivan Reitman was the director, and he directed Animal House. That's probably big with y'all and y'all fan base. I'm not. That's another truth though. But so he after I sent my audition tape in, part of their team wanted me to play Chadwick Boseman's role, and part of the team wanted me to play the role that I had. And so they were like on the fence. The room was kind of split on who they wanted me to read for. So I auditioned for that role as well. So that was like, at least for one moment in time, like Chadwick Boseman and me were going head to head for a role. That's cool. Also, I think this is the most important part though. This was like a monumental moment for me in my career, because I had like this big chip on my shoulder because I was undrafted. And during that time, I think I was like a two-time Pro Bowler. I led the league in rushing. I was at the height of my success, and like the thorn in my side was I wasn't drafted. Mm-hmm. And so I actually did get drafted number 7 overall to the Cleveland Browns. So it was like I did it all. I lived my NFL career. It was beautiful. I
love it. That is really nice. Is there any part of you that is a little bit upset that you weren't the number 1 overall pick in that movie?
Nah, man. I came from nothing, man. So as long as we got picked,
Yeah, I was looking at your IMDb. That is very impressive. You played Ray Jennings in Draft Day. Maybe more impressive, you were also in Baywatch.
I was. A little cameo in Baywatch.
As yourself, what was that like?
That was cool. It was cool. I think the dopest part of that was like my mom is like obsessed with The Rock, bro. Like obsessed. Like when I say obsessed, it's like she swoons. I've never seen my mother swoon. She like melts. And so I during one in the middle of the set, I called him over and I was like, yo, my mom's like in love with you, bro. Can you just send her a little video? And so he shouted her out and said, hey, Bernadette, and she fucking melted, bro. It was dope.
That's great. Dope. Billy, did you like Draft Day, right? No?
I have a confession to make.
You've never seen Draft Day?
You fucking hater.
You fraud. No, Billy's a fraud. He's never seen Draft Day. Your name is Billy Football.
Yeah, can we change that? It's a lot of pressure.
No,
absolutely not, Billy.
I tried to do it Billy Ocean, but you wasn't rocking with it.
I love Billy Ocean's fine.
Someone already
you're in my phone as Billy Ocean.
That's dope.
Yeah,
Billy, I've yet to see. I will watch it.
We got to get you to watch Draft Day for sure.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things I got to get
surprised. You're gonna be surprised.
I can imagine you're an amazing actor.
No, I don't fuck about that. It's actually a good movie. Like it's like a good movie.
Mm.
And was Terry Crews your dad?
In that movie, he was.
Movie, yeah. What's he like?
Really cool dude. Very energetic, very positive. It was my first acting in a movie, and we're on a busy New York street. And in New York, they can't get zoning licenses to like block off sections, so it's not a set. If you ever see a movie in New York, all the people in the background are real people. Like they just hold up signs that say we're filming a movie, and if you walk on here, you're giving your rights away to be in the movie. And so anyway, we film in live action, and they're screaming, "Terry Crews! Oh my God, Terry Crews!" And it's like, "Oh shit, that's Arian Foster!" Oh, it's just and he's like, I'm like nervous. I'm nervous as shit. And like, so I like went over my lines religiously because I just didn't want to be the dude to fuck up anybody's lines and waste anybody's time. And he was like, "Hey, fuck up your lines. Who cares?" He's like, "Just get it out. Just get it out. Who cares? Fuck it up." He's like, "I fuck up my lines all the time on purpose just to get it out." And I'm like, "That's dope advice. I appreciate it."
I like that. Make you get out of your head a little bit.
I got a question, Arian, and you may have better insight than, of course, I do. So when you're at, I don't know if, so like the VMAs were last night, right? Have you ever been to like those types of events? So you got a guy like Conor McGregor throwing a punch at MGK. What do people take themselves like that seriously at those types of events? I don't know how to describe what I'm saying, but like, do they know that a lot of it's a spectacle, or are they going in there like, yeah, I'm going to the party? Like,
so when I had my small brush with fame, I was very over it very fast, because what I realized is the majority of like famous people, this is why I don't really like famous people, because the majority of famous people read their own press and they start to fall for that shit. And I would say the majority, the people that I met anyway, it's like they're just like in love with the shit. And so it's like you have people call paparazzi on themselves, like just to stay in the news and shit like that. And it's just it's a facade driven entertainment business where people do things to stay in the headlines, because like like one of the biggest like punchlines for people to get on like a celebrity on is like, you're not relevant anymore. Like that hurts their career, right? And like for me, I couldn't care less about being relevant. That has nothing to do. I don't move in any way that doesn't affect me at all. Like, and people care about that shit because your relevancy is directly correlated with how much value you bring to like a project or whatever the case may be. And so it's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hoopla. There's some good people for sure. But I just stayed away from the Hollywood scene. I stayed away from like the big parties and stuff like that. Like I would go, like if I had like an appearance or something, and I'll get hella faded and then I can go back to my room. Like I'm not really into like red carpets. There used to be red carpets. Yeah. I walked one or two red carpets, and like this is the dumbest shit I've ever been a part of. So every time afterwards, if there was like an NFL event or something, like there was a red carpet, I would go behind, and they were like, "No, you got to walk the red carpet." I was like, "No, I don't. That shit is stupid. It's just like dumb. You have to sit there and just pose for the camera. This is the stupidest shit."
I've always wondered if people get drunk before they go on the red carpet.
I think there's two types of, like, I have no idea, but I imagine that some people think it's hilarious and like pregame for it and are just like messing around, but then there's people who take it really seriously. But I have no idea.
Well, it's part of their brand. So we used to just dress up for games, and I wanted to look fly. But if you look at like NBA and NFL now, it's an entire spectrum because it's a part of their branding. It's how they want to be perceived. It's what they want to be viewed as, and so they take it very seriously. Or else you'd be walking to the games in flip flops and shit. Like nobody would care. But those red carpets are literally a part of. I mean, shit. To this day, like we still talk about like J-Lo's green dress. J-Lo in a green dress.
It was a great dress.
It was a great dress.
I'm okay with still talking about that dress. That dress turned me into a man.
I'm not against it. I mean, I brought it up. It's still very vivid in my mind. Yeah. What I'm saying is people can use that to bolster their relevancy and bolster their careers in a way that I was uninterested in.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so the rumor is that Conor McGregor went up to MGK asking for a picture of him and Megan Fox, who is also in a stunning put together. I was just like wondering, like,
it's like a chimp versus gorilla situation right there.
Yeah.
Like this Conor would beat the shit out of the larger MGK.
So MGK's like 6'4".
Conor's the gorilla then.
I don't know. You're the most famous person I could like ask about this, so thank you for giving your input.
No doubt. I wouldn't call me famous. I was moderately recognizable. People leave me alone for
right now. You're still the Houston Texans' all-time leading rusher and touchdown scorer, right?
Also, other questions.
Well, it is the Texans, so I mean that's not really saying that much.
Exactly. furthest we made it was what, second round. So
Yeah, well, also like anytime they get somebody that's halfway decent, they'll just trade them away. That's kind of what they do. So,
it's their go-to move.
your record will never be broken because they'll have a good wide receiver for 3 years and be like, congratulations, you're a Seattle Seahawk now.
Also, quick question: do you think Chandler Jones was really going off over the weekend, or
Good
was
question.
it more of a product of J.J. Watt getting double teams and him just being one-on-one with the tackle every time?
Yeah, I like that you're asking Arian this question. Like Arian's been grinding the film. Like he logged on to NFL.com and pulled up Game Pass this morning. And he's just been breaking down all. Did you watch? How much football did you watch yesterday?
I didn't watch any football, but I caught the highlights because what happened was I was driving back from I went to go visit my mom in San Antonio, and I was driving back from San Antonio to Houston. So I caught some highlights. I did see the 5-sack performance, or I saw the highlights of it. And I'll just tell you this: once you get your third sack or your second sack in the first quarter, they're keying on you. It's not about and a lot of times people like with the double teams and shit like there's rare human beings that you have to do that to the entire game. I think J.J. Watt is an amazing athlete, but I don't think he's at the place now where you have to double team him like that anymore. Aaron Donald, like, is a person like where you like if you don't double team him, like he's going to cause that havoc. Like, but like that Chandler Jones performance is like that's just like that tackle as if he has a job next year, that's gonna be interesting.
Well, yeah, he will.
5 sacks.
He's a podcaster, so he'll have a job.
Wow.
He's also the highest paid offensive lineman in the league, right?
Is he really?
I think so, yeah. At least he was when he signed his contract.
He was coming off of ACL surgery. So
I saw the corniest shit in the world though. So he goes and he tweets, and I know because my man's was talking about it. Charles James, nigga, hilarious. He tweets, "Thank you, Chandler Jones, for exposing me. It's only gonna make me better."
Yeah.
Like, bro, you guys gotta take that L and tuck it. Like, tuck it the deeper way. Like, fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Hey, Mikey. So Mikey Podcast is guest producing the podcast today. I think you're logged on to Slack, Mikey. Are you? Yes. I'm hearing a lot of bubbles pop up. Mad Dog just let me know. And I know that's not Avery, I don't think has a Slack account, does he?
I also just don't know who out of you guys would have a Slack.
Yeah, no, I that's one thing. I've thankfully never started a Slack account, and everybody always talks about Slack this, Slack that. People, the worst Twitter content that there is people posting a screenshot of an inside joke on their Slack.
On their Slack channel.
They're like, look at this, Slack's going off again. It's like this is worse than talking about your fantasy team to me.
But it's the most recognizable tone.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to you've never had to have a Slack before to know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Someone's on it.
You know who was also an atheist?
Who?
The Titanic.
That's a good point.
The Titanic was never christened.
That's a good point, Billy.
So
it also, we can maybe get into this in a little bit. Fun fact about the Titanic. I don't know if you call it the serial number or the production number of the Titanic on the side of the ship. It was 3909 space 04. Big deal, you might say. When you hold it up to a mirror, that reads "No Pope" on the side of it. And there's some speculation that it was done to piss off some of the Catholic workers that were working on the ship who may or may not have then gone ahead and sabotaged the ship.
Yeah, no, the Titanic was built in a part of Belfast, which was strictly Protestant. And if you know the history of Northern Ireland, there is a ton of sectarian strife when it comes to the Protestants and the Catholics.
The Troubles, yeah.
Yeah.
Smart Billy.
Absolutely right, Billy.
A lot of Jesus causing problems. Most people are exactly the same.
So let's get into Titanic. Real quick, Mikey Podcast is guest producing the podcast today. Mikey, is this your first? No, you've guest produced before when we were in the other room, right?
The marijuana one.
Yeah, the marijuana one. So Mikey is in charge. Are you in charge of programming? What is your official title here?
Director of audio.
Director of audio.
So just making sure everything happens.
Making sure everything happens here. What's one piece of advice that you could give us about our podcast? Is it if you do a show about the Titanic, maybe discuss the Titanic in the first hour?
I don't think your listeners come for that.
Okay. All right. Good.
Exactly.
Good. I like it.
They don't come for the facts?
No, they come for Billy's facts for sure. And we'll also have to get into the Tennessee Minute in a little bit. But first, let's get into Titanic. Let's get into the meat of the show today. And the meat of the show today is brought to you by our great friends at BetterHelp. BetterHelp is actually a great product that we advertise. So we joke around a lot. We have some fun advertisers that we can use in our personal lives to maybe last longer and better or whatever. But with BetterHelp, it's taking care of the most important part of your body. That's your brain. Everyone could use the chance to talk to somebody about mental health. Everyone could use a chance to talk to a therapist if they want, because we've all got stress. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the Texans' all-time leading touchdown scorer or if you're a guy that is living in the middle of the Congo with an army of chimps and gorillas. You probably have some things that stress you out in your life, and there's no shame in that. It's totally normal, and it's good to get those feelings out sometimes. It's good to talk to somebody who's completely unbiased about your life, someone who is not going to judge you or take sides on anything, where there are things that you can't tell anyone or feel like you can't unload on family and friends. You have to unload it, and that's what therapy can be. Therapy will make you feel great. If you just get things off your chest, feels like there's been a weight lifted off your body. It can be like a tangible physical experience where you feel better after the fact. Make you feel good. Therapy is a very healthy thing to do, and BetterHelp is here to help you with that. It's a customized online therapy. It offers video, phone, even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. You can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Unload the stressors, get unbiased feedback. Just see if it's for you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off the first month at betterhelp.com/dose. That's betterhelp.com/dose. All right, Titanic. We've all seen the movie. We've all heard about the ship. It's one of the most famous maritime disasters of all time. And there's a lot of conspiracies out there about it. Is everything as it seems with the Titanic, or was there something else at play when that ship set sail? So let's do a quick setup here. What did you guys know about the Titanic going into this episode? Big T.
I mean, all the basic shit, I guess.
You saw the movie?
I've not seen the movie.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
That's more surprising than Billy Football not watching Draft Day.
It's one of those I've never gotten around to.
There's boobs. Were you not allowed
Really?
to see it
Those
because
were
of the
my
boobs?
first boobs.
That was your
Those
first
were the
boob?
first boobs I've ever seen. Now that I remember it.
I'll check it out later. But yeah, I've never gotten around to see the movie. I mean, all the basic stuff. Iceberg, April 1912.
Yep.
Same
Okay.
week Fenway Park opened. People forget that.
People do. What about you, Billy?
I remember I watched it. When did it come out? 1999?
98, 99, something like
so
that?
I remember it came out the year I was born, and then one night, my family started watching it on TV, and my parents had seen it in theaters, but they forgot about the boobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were watching it. I think it was on HBO, and that scene came up, and then my mom and dad freaked out and covered my eyes.
It's tasteful nudity, though, because it's done in the context of art.
Yeah.
Great nipples on Kate Winslet. Artistically, great nipples. She has a beautiful figure, a beautiful form, in a non-horny way. Can we all agree on that? I feel like in that scene, it's like she's a painting from the Renaissance era. Her nipples especially. Again, not in a horny way. What about you, Arian? You've seen the movie. Did they teach you about the Titanic in school? Because I distinctly remember spending a week learning about the Titanic.
If they did, I didn't pay attention. That was one of the things I copied. If they did, I have no recollection of learning about this. I don't know anything about the Titanic, but I did watch the movie, and I remember thinking that, dude, what is his name? He played the butler on Richie Rich, and he's in the movie. What is that guy's name?
Billy Zane.
No, it was I could be his name. I don't know. He played the butler, but he was the one that made them speed it up. He was like, speed it up because we want to have a grand entrance in New York.
Gotcha.
I remember thinking that dude was a coward. I remember thinking that Rose was a dick. I remember thinking Rose was a dick.
Jonathan Hyde played the butler in Richie Rich.
Jonathan Hyde.
I agree with you. Rose was not a good person.
Rose killed Jack. Hashtag Rose killed Jack.
Rose killed Jack. Rose also she lived her entire life like a piece of shit. She met Jack. She went slumming with Jack for like a day and a half on the Titanic. And she was like, oh, look at me. I'm hanging out with the unwashed masses. Aren't I elegant? Aren't I? Oh, I'm being a bad girl because I'm lashing out against Billy Zane, who's a fucking prick. And then all of a sudden we're supposed to be like, oh, Rose was a good person. No, Rose lived her entire life as an entitled bitch. And she just so happened to want to get some dick from a little urchin that lived down on the 4th floor in Steerage one weekend. And then so she got piped up. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, great. Yeah, Rose, you're the hero. You got a diamond. Didn't give it back, by the way. Held on to the diamond. And then just kind of you held on to it for the rest of your life. And, I don't think that there's that many redeeming qualities behind Rose.
Agree. Also, a few fun facts. I do believe that there was broom on the door for Jack. I do think that. But how are you on the door with the life vest on and your man's just sitting here struggling to fucking tread water? Give him the life jacket at least, my G.
Yeah.
But no, she kept the life jacket on and she was on the door. And, domestic violence aside, her fiance had a point. Here I am taking my fiance on a boat, right? He was probably a dick before, but still, at least have the decency to break up with me. We are on a boat together. All of a sudden, you are fucking some dude you just met, raw. Were there condoms in 1920?
I don't know.
Or 1900?
Sheepskin.
I don't know. You were definitely fucking raw. There was no way. So you out here risking my health, risking your health for a cheap thrill. It's just Rose was a dick, and she killed Jack.
Yeah, I think Billy Zane, obviously his character was an asshole in this movie too. But, I mean, they were engaged. They had a commitment to each other. Rose could have broken up with him. She didn't have to go to America, right? Unless I'm remembering the plot of the movie incorrectly. I think that Rose could have very easily just, broken up with him. She did break up with him.
But the reason why she didn't want to break up with him was because her mom was pressured to stay with him because dude had money. And they were all out of money because their dad left them with debt. So she was basically, she was a gold digger. She was marrying him for the bread.
Okay.
And specifically to make her mother happy. And so when she didn't want to be with the domestically violent man at the end, she decided to change the name, then take the name of the dude that you killed. Just a bad person.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot about the whole debt thing. So she was pressured into it by her mom. So not like a completely evil situation for her to be trying to get the money, but that's through a series of choices, that's where her life went. And but she really showed absolutely no redeeming qualities with Jack. I thought she just wanted to get some dick. This was her doing like a girls trip where she's like, I'm gonna be bad this weekend. I'm gonna live out my fantasy of sleeping with an artist that was down in the steerage class, and then guess what? I'm gonna kill him at the end of it. Never tells anyone.
Real quick, last thing. I remember the drawings being fucking exquisite, like when I was younger watching that shit. And Instagram has definitely diluted that for me, because there's amazing artists. And so when I watched it last night in preparation for this. I watched it last night, and it's a good draw. I could not draw like that, right? So whoever drew it, no, kudos to you. But it's a very not underwhelming artist Jack was.
They actually did a pretty good job in the movie Titanic about keeping true to the story, and there are a lot of details that they put in that were very accurate about the building of the ship, the different things that happened once the iceberg hit, and some of the socioeconomic divisions on the ship and how those played out in the evacuation. So the movie it's not just Hollywood. I think that they did a pretty good job staying true to form of some of the important details. Yeah, Billy?
There was the beginning scene where Jack wins the ticket to the game, to the ship in a poker game. There was an example of a couple of dockhand workers who did lose their tickets in a game. And basically there was a rumor that has been substantiated that because they lost their tickets and they were the ones who were supposed to do a lot of the stuff in the engine room, and they basically had untrained workers in very important spots not being able to do their job correctly and causing it to all happen, which
also
hasn't been
go ahead.
No, it's just a there's a ton of rumors that come with the Titanic. It's actually kind of insane how much disputed facts there are when it comes to it.
Yeah, and so to y'all's point though, James Cameron who is also the director of Avatar, I might add. James Cameron did a wonderful job. I don't know if y'all saw that, but they have like the release dates of like 8 or 5 maybe, Avatar 5, like in 2028.
Avatar 5 is set to release on December 22nd, 2028.
I will bet you $1 million that will not be the release date. $1 million. Right now.
And that's what I don't understand is why we got to be so negative. Why? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Avid Avatar fan here. As soon as they release 2, I'm gonna be so happy, but like they keep releasing like release dates for 4, 5.
You can't plan anything out that far in the future besides college football, like inter-conference games, like 2028. No, you can't put a week, you can't put a day on when that movie is coming out. $1 million on the table right now. But sorry, go ahead, James Cameron.
You're probably right. So he did a great job at like you guys were saying, like getting some of the historicity correctly. As far as like they were going faster than they should have been, and they couldn't turn. And they were also given warnings of icebergs in their path, and they ignored them. Also in the opening scene where the dude is like rummaging for the bottom, like not all of that is real footage, but they did use some of that is real footage. Like I think when they filmed the fireplace is actually the real footage, and I think that shit is really dope. Just for the simple fact, it's like it's eerie. Like it's eerie to think that that's been in the bottom of it for 100 years, and just the I don't know, just the depiction of that was it was a powerful moment for me rewatching it last night. Thinking that that's a real thing that they used, and they used it in the movie. I thought it was dope.
So let's get into some of the construction, not the theories, but these are the facts behind the construction of the Titanic. It was built by White Star Cruise Lines, and the owner of White Star Cruise Lines, a name you might be familiar with, J.P. Morgan, owned it. He wanted to get into the travel business. He wanted to get into the shipbuilding business. Yeah, Billy?
He actually wanted to monopolize the whole shipping industry.
Yep.
The Atlantic shipping industry was most of the commerce going on, and he wanted to be the owner of every ship that transported people, goods, and services across the ocean. And that company was owned by a larger company called the International Mercantile Marine Company that was supposed to basically be the Amazon of shipping.
Yeah, he wanted to take over the world.
Yeah.
JP Morgan, everything that he wanted to get involved in, he wanted to run a monopoly on, and he wanted to be the best at it, the richest person, and the most successful. So he tried to get into the shipping industry, tried to monopolize that. He was not able to buy out his competitors. He made them obscene offers to the biggest competitors to try to acquire them. They wouldn't sell. I read that he offered 10 times the annual revenue on one of his competitors to purchase them. They said no. They said, kindly go fuck yourself. And so a guy like J.P. Morgan, who was one of the most rich, wealthy, powerful people in the world, didn't take too kindly to that. So what did J.P. Morgan do? Well, he decided to build more ships and sell tickets on them for next to nothing at the time. So he wanted to make, what would the word be, like sea travel, intercontinental sea travel. He wanted to undercut the prices for all the other competitors out there so that he would wipe them out, because he's a wealthy dude. He's got almost unlimited funds. He also did like a stock sell program that covered some of the expenses right up front. But he was trying to undercut, at least when it came to, the steerage class, the fourth class, the third class passengers. So like Spirit Air, he was trying to combine it all onto one boat, where you'd have at the top, you've got Virgin Atlantic. That's a really nice airline. Then at the bottom, you've got Spirit Air. And they also had, I thought this was kind of interesting, because when you used to travel across the Atlantic Ocean, if you were paying for the coach tickets or the worst class tickets, a lot of times there was no place for you to lay down. It was just basically you have to stand up for a week until you get to another continent. Like, how fucked up is that? That's the worst way to travel ever. Maybe if you get a good spot on the floor, you can sit or lay down. Probably a lot of people were playing cards to pass the time, but they didn't have seats. They didn't have beds. They didn't have anything. It was just kind of like, we're going to stick you in this room that you paid money for, and then we'll wake you up when you get to London or when you get to New York City.
Yeah, that's Another part that was like I missed when I was younger was the division of classes amongst the, like, I mean, you see it but you don't really understand that, like, what that actually means. And it's just wild to me that we just, like, there has to be class in a traveling, like, I think it was weird, like, you, like, there's first, like, on planes even, like, oh, there's a cabin where, like, your chair's a little more comfortable and you'll give you free alcohol. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just a weird concept to me. Just like make all the chairs comfortable, dog. Like, it's just avoid the, I don't know, man. It's just the wildest shit.
At the end, you're going to the same place anyways.
Same fucking place, man.
Right. So J.P. Morgan built the Titanic. It had a sister ship. It had, I don't know if it was an exact one, but it's pretty close to it. That ship was called
The Olympic.
The Olympic.
The Olympic was built before the Titanic and plays a big role in a lot of these conspiracy theories. The Olympic was a little bit smaller, I want to say, but basically the same as the Titanic. Just the Titanic was like a newly renovated version. I think they were basically the same, but the Olympic was got into a little bit of a boating accident right before the Titanic went to set sail in its maiden voyage.
It hit an iceberg, right?
It hit a Royal British Navy boat.
That's right. My mistake.
Yeah, which had a ram. All the naval boats had rams in them because this was back when countries went to war and their navies met up. They were literally ramming ships against each other and trying to, like, pirate style fight each other. So because they rammed into a Royal Navy, and naval ships, according to some laws of the sea, are supposed to have precedent in movement, and basically the J.P. Morgan's company couldn't get an insurance claim on the Olympic because a judge had ruled that it was the Olympic's fault in the crash.
Yeah, and so what happens right after that crash is it was brought to port in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and they started allegedly repairing it. And a lot of people think that the Titanic was actually the Olympic, right? And that they put it out to sea because they had another new ship, and the only way for them to recuperate the money that they lost on the Olympic, because it was so heavily damaged, would be if it were to sink in an unrelated accident, if it was labeled as being a completely new, totally safe ship to be on board. So a lot of people think that the Titanic was replaced with the Olympic at the last minute, and then people got on board of the ship that had been hastily repaired, knowing that it probably wouldn't last the people that made the ships knew that it probably wouldn't last that long and that it wasn't necessarily safe, but the only way they could get their money back and the insurance money to come through is if it eventually sank or eventually got so much damage to it that it would be rendered inoperable, and they could be like, hey, this new ship, the Titanic, this one has an independent issue that's totally different from what happened to the other ship. Can we get our money back from this one?
And there is also rumors, and this also implies one thing that is refuted, that the whole unsinkable angle that they promoted in regards to Titanic was to get a higher insurance premium so that if and when it went down, they could collect a higher rate. Mm-hmm. But this has a bunch of different points that kind of cause this theory to get unraveled. One, they wouldn't need to have filled the ship up with passengers and people and, sailed it as far out as they did to commit insurance fraud. So there is this idea they could have staged various different events that would have caused it. But there's also a theory that there wasn't an iceberg that hit the ship, but another international mercantile marine ship that they sent to sort of T-bone it to cause it to sink. But the reasons why they'd want to sink the Titanic besides insurance fraud, assuming that, if there was really the Olympic and not the Titanics they said they would, is that J.P. Morgan also was at the time setting up an international monetary fund. Well,
more so than that. So the Federal Reserve, J.P. Morgan was in favor of creating the Federal Reserve back in the early 20th century, and a lot of people did not like the idea of the Fed. A lot of people still don't like the idea of the Fed. I don't really know what the Fed does. That's way above my mental grade. I can't really comprehend enough to have an opinion one way or another about it. But a lot of people did not like the establishment of the Federal Reserve, and J.P. Morgan was a fan of it. He had several rivals at the time. There were a couple other millionaires, Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim. They all got on board the Titanic, and they were anti-Federal Reserve. J.P. Morgan was going to sail on the Titanic. He decided at the last minute that he wasn't going to, didn't get on board the ship. He said for health reasons, but then he was spotted out and about in Paris over the course of the next week, just like having a good time, acting normal. So the health issues are called into question. J.P. Morgan did not get on the ship, but all of his principal business rivals and financial rivals were on the ship at the time, and he knew that they were on board. Just something to think about.
You know who's been big on that conspiracy theory recently, don't you?
Who's that?
QAnon.
Q, really?
Yeah, QAnon.
Yeah.
PFT.
Well, I might be Q.
It's so this is actually
Where we go one, where we go all.
Yeah.
this is easily refuted because Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Guggenheim all either had no mention or it was before any of these discussions occurred.
Fuck, I just got easily refuted.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
No, but this is no,
Billy,
this,
Billy just
I
easily
want to
refuted
well,
me.
we have to refute it because it's actually deep into the QAnon sort of
Oh,
mythos.
I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was Guggenheim was actually pro the Fed.
Strauss.
And Strauss was pro the Fed. Guggenheim and Astor were not. Were just oblivious to the whole thing. And it was more that because the Titanic was this super hyped up luxury sort of palace on the sea,
Yeah.
that basically because there was so limited cross Atlantic
Traffic, yeah.
it's that they were all on the nicest one. So there wasn't a flight every day. They all just happened to be on the same one, crossing the Atlantic at the same
All
time.
right. I mean, good refutation, Billy.
Yeah, because then it goes on to say that J.P. Morgan wanted to dominate the seas and the commerce, and then once he did, he then wanted to cause a war in Europe so that he could take American goods to fund wars in Europe, and that's the foundation of the deep state and all the wars that occur is because it's like these dudes who control arms movements and
Well, the idea of
Yeah.
arms dealers and people trying to profit off war, encouraging conflict, that's real. That happens worldwide, and it has happened for a while. I'm not saying the QAnon thing though.
but
I didn't know that was.
So
I
Q-
didn't-
Yeah, I didn't know that QAnon was it. So I guess that was my question. Is what is the angle? And I think you just explained it. But if there's anything else, because I had never heard. I don't get kept abreast of the QAnon.
the lore.
folklore.
I think
Yeah.
I think the idea is that he had his financial rivals, and they were, regardless of whether or not the Federal Reserve thing is even in question, these were some of the richest men in the world that were all rivals of J.P. Morgan, and so the theory is maybe he was trying to kill these people by sending them out on a ship that he knew was not seaworthy yet. I don't know. It is definitely it's out there. It's an out there theory, but I do love insurance fraud stories, which is why I like the idea of switching out the Titanic for the Olympic at the last second.
yeah,
Did all of them die? Did all of his rivals die?
Yeah, boom.
they all went down with the ship, but they say that they sent an international mercantile marine ship to sort of kamikaze the Titanic to take it down, and it wasn't an iceberg, and the ice on the deck of the ship was really from the rigging on the basically planted international mercantile marine ship. I think once you see this, because this was one of the biggest ships ever made, and you see this a lot with for example, the World Trade Center, when something is such a symbol of, too big for anything bad to happen and too engineered, that, caused people to go pretty haywire with a lot of the theories of how it actually went down, what exactly happened. There's a bunch of theories on why it went down, how it did. So, for example, there was the coal theory. So on a lot of ships, their coal, because they were all coal burning, coal powered with the steam, they had these huge coal, because that was what the fuel they used. They had these stockpiles of coal, and coal catches fire. So sometimes their stockpiles would catch fire due to the nature of the furnaces and sparks flying everywhere. So they'd catch fire, and now we're not talking about an explosion, but just like a slow burn, because it was that type of slow burning fuel. So this intense heat, and it was raging for 10 days because we aren't really around coal in the United States that much, but when like a stack of coal, much like on a barbecue, when it burns, it sort of glows and then is extremely hot. So what they were doing is they would take the coals that caught fire, throw them into the furnace, and this would take several days. So there was a coal fire that burned in the coal bunkers of the Titanic for about 10 days. So they think that this may have weakened the metal and the structural integrity of the whole boat because of the heat causing the metal to bend, the heating of the hull in regards to the cold water underneath causing the steel to weaken, and may have played a role in why it snapped in half, how it did. And, you know, there's a bunch of like hypotheses of how it happened, including the closed watertight doors theory, that certain doors that were made for if flooding occurred weren't opened or closed, and the expansion joint hypothesis, which I won't bore you with like engineering stuff because I don't really understand it, but there's like a certain way that if they're doing stuff to the boat and they need to bend the hull, that it would malfunction, and that's why it sort of cracked up how it did, because people don't really know if when it went down, if everyone sees the scene how it was depicted in James Cameron's movie, but at one point it goes completely vertical and then slides down because it snaps in half, and then one goes down and then the other side sort of veers up, and basically the angle of how it sort of broke in two and went into the water is up for a lot of debate, because eyewitnesses say one thing, the wreckage shows another. So that's where a lot of this gray area comes in, and no one's entirely sure how the structural integrity became so compromised.
So I was also going to ask, what are the eyewitnesses saying? How do they account for the what was their account, and how did it differentiate from what they believe happened?
Some people say that they saw ice on the deck. No one really said that they saw an iceberg to begin with because it wasn't lit up. And there's even, eyewitnesses accounts saying they were very widespread and wide between, because when they got these people onto the lifeboats and onto the different boats, because there was no consensus and they weren't all together, everyone was saying different things.
Plus, everyone's panicking in a situation like that. A lot of time, eyewitness testimony isn't super reliable.
Probably terrible.
I like to toss this theory out there. I think I'm a no iceberger. I think I might not believe that there was an iceberg.
You a U-boat guy?
I might be a U-boat guy.
I didn't find that to be incredulous.
I might be a U-boat guy. I might be a depth charge guy. I might be a sea mine. Is that what they're called? Bomb? An ocean bomb? Am I just making up weapons? No, I'm pretty sure.
About that.
I'm pretty sure that there's there are explosive charges that you can run into. Sometimes people booby trap harbors and stuff with them. But I might be a no iceberg guy, because I feel like it's a harmless theory to believe in right now, and I like the idea of being in on something that all you sheeple you haven't even considered it. You just think you believe what the media has told you, and you can't believe that there could be a U-boat that was set up there. Europe at the time was going through a lot of changes. That was the start of the powder keg.
Only a couple years before the Lusitania.
It was a couple years before the Lusitania, and it was when all the alliances were being made. There were competing interests to shipping rights going across the North Atlantic. I think I'm a no iceberger. I think it got hit by something.
I don't think those are mutually exclusive, though. There could have been a U-boat that caused it to hit the iceberg, and then the iceberg was a convenient
Good point.
scapegoat.
Good point.
Oh, it just hit the iceberg.
Yeah, there also could have been, who knows what was on board that Titanic. I'm sure that
Right.
it had some crazy not just like the luggage and not just personal effects, but I'm sure it was also carrying some other goods across the Atlantic at the time.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not too sure about that one. Just
Are you going to
because-
easily refute me again?
No, I'm not going to easily refute you. The only reason I refuted you is
No,
to not
easily.
give-
No,
to
you
give
didn't just refute
Well, I
me.
didn't want to give
You-
QAnon.
You easily refuted me.
conspiracies.
I'm glad you
I
did.
was
I've just
refuting
never
QAnon.
been easily refuted before.
No, because anyway. But the boat was going from England to the U.S. So much of nothing. England was kind of not producing any goods that would be of danger to the Germans.
What if there were people
Going
on
back.
board that were trying to escape to the United States out of Europe, needed to be put down? It's just
It
like
would
the
be
old
so
meme,
much
like,
easier, but
they had information leading to the arrest and conviction of Hillary Clinton
But-
on board the Titanic.
you just put assassins on the boat. It would be so much easier just to push them off the side of the boat than take down the whole boat.
You don't know what sort of cargo was on board the Titanic, though.
Right, but like for example, Lusitania got taken down by a U-boat because there was arms coming for the United States.
Yeah, and we were told that it was a U-boat that took it out so that we could use it as a pretext to go into war because Europe was like begging us. The UK
Right.
was begging us, hey, here's this telegram that got sent over to Mexico. Doesn't this look legit? Oh, yeah, this boat got sank. Now are you going to buck with us? Are you going to come ride on these fools? And so we were just being begged to go into war at that time. Going the other way, I could see something happening and not being told the full story about it. That's all I'm going to say. I might be a no iceberger.
But then what? There's a ton of gold on the boat
Could
that
be.
is being exchanged for.
A lot of rich people on that
Could
ship.
be a lot of gold on there. You never know, Billy.
Huh.
I don't think I was as easily refuted that time.
I think this is starting to turn into like the season 2 plot of Outer Banks.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. By the way, that show kicks ass.
Don't tell me what happens. I'm only 2 episodes in.
How have you not finished yet?
I'm watching Titletown High right now. I've got other shows.
It's geographically inconsistent, I'll put it that way. I don't think that
Well,
anybody
big,
on that show's ever looked at a map.
I'm I'm a big Manifest guy right now. Have y'all seen Manifest?
Yes. I've been watching that
Calm
show.
down, calm down, my nigga. Calm down.
Is that is that the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch that.
Which episode? are you
It's
on?
really fun. I'm on season 2, episode 4, 3 or
Okay.
4.
You're actually ahead of me.
It's really fire. So if people haven't watched it, it's a show. I like the premise, right? It's getting real. I just hope at the end it doesn't get like Jesus did it, right? But it gets real. Like there's a lot of faith references in Romans 8:28. But so basically the premise of the show is, not to take us too far, of course, but it's really fucking fire. Is a plane goes missing, and for them they just experience really bad turbulence. But when they land, it's 5 years later, and it's trying to piece together what happened. And I ain't gonna spoil it too much, but it's really fire show.
I was on Part of My Take and I said that I was watching that show, and then I was like, guys, please don't spoil it for me. And then I found out that it hadn't finished.
Yeah, so it's
So,
unspoilable.
yeah, unspoilable. So it's hype.
Oh, wow, I hate that though. I like binge watching shows because then now like I gotta wait.
Well,
you
by
know,
the
for
time
episodes, like,
by the time it comes out, you're gonna be up to date.
I don't know, man. I don't got a lot of shit to do, Billy.
There's another theory that there was is it a mummy
Yeah.
that was on board? Big T, you want to take that one?
Well, there was a mummy who had been like excavated in England in the early 1900s. And that put some sort of Egyptian curse on the Titanic. I wasn't quite.
Were they taking it to the Bass Pro Shops pyramid?
They might have been. They were going to
Some people have linked the
sail
quote.
it up the Mississippi.
Some people have linked the quote mummy's curse to Egyptian artifacts that survivor Margaret Brown really did take with her on the Titanic to deliver to a museum in Denver. In other versions of the story, the mummy was actually aboard the Titanic because the British Museum had sold it to an American who was shipping it home.
Okay.
There's also the idea that there was a book written years before the Titanic sailed in 1898, 14 years prior to the Titanic disaster. Morgan Robertson wrote a book called Futility or the Wreck of the Titan. This story features an enormous British passenger liner called the Titan, which was deemed unsinkable, carried insufficient lifeboats, and on an April voyage, the Titan hits an iceberg and sinks in the North Atlantic with the loss of almost everybody on board. So it was sort of just like basically what happened to the Titanic written. So it was like a Simpsons episode.
Yeah, I like that version of it. It's like they called this. Who is it? Morgan Robertson? Yeah, Morgan Robertson calls everything.
There was also I think it was some Asian TV show that predicted the outbreak of COVID. I think they actually used COVID as well. It was like a strand, and so it was like years ago, and people were like, see the pandemic.
I think I need to read this book, The Wreck of the Titan. It's a futility and the Wreck of the Titan. Need to take a look at that. I'm always really interested in the Nostradamus type stuff where people just take a text that previously existed and then just kind of like draw the lines, connect the dots.
I feel like Titan to Titanic, like the idea of something super large being called similar because the Titans were like in Greek mythology. I think that's pretty easy to sort of be like, no, it's not because they're both supposed to happen. It was because they're both giant things that we use a classical term to denote.
So, Arian, I've been on the record that I think that there should be a Titanic 2 that gets built. There should be a company that builds an exact replica of the Titanic, set sail from the exact same spot to the exact same spot, goes the exact same course through the icy water, and doesn't have enough lifeboats on board. And people would buy that shit. People would buy tickets for Titanic 2. Guaranteed. The ultimate thrill.
I was with you on the Titanic Mulligan until you said not enough lifeboats.
No, because
Gotta recreate it.
That's the authentic experience. People don't want to do the boring shit. Like imagine if Titanic 2 hits an iceberg, starts to sink, and then there's plenty of lifeboats, and there's like 17 support vessels around just in case it sinks. That's not the same experience. You want the original feel of like I'm taking my life into my own hands here.
I
It's
also
like the Avatar ride in Florida.
Exactly like the Avatar ride in Florida. Yeah.
but there's no electricity on board. You have to dress in 1900s clothes.
Yes.
And
You could only dress up like Jack or Rose, nothing else.
Well, that's the problem is if you sell tickets to this thing, there's going to be so many couples that get on board and try to fuck in one of the cars. It's just going to be insane. People are just going to look at this as a big giant sex cruise. That's not the purpose of Titanic 2. The purpose of Titanic 2 is for the modern thrill seeker looking to experience transoceanic travel with a touch of class.
There's gonna be a line at the front. That's another I called Cap on in the movie. Was like, how was like everybody would want to be sitting at the very front of the boat, like you know what I mean, and feel like when she felt like I was flying, Jack, like everybody gonna be wanting to do it. So there's probably gonna be a line for the front of the boat too.
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want it to get corny on board. I want it to be like true to the original feel. You have to sell tickets by class too. You have to have some people who are willing to, get dressed up like the people without a penny to their name, stay down in steerage. Sure, you can get a band going down there, chug a couple pints of stout, and do a little dance where you stand on your toes, and people think that you're really cool because you learned this one ballet trick. You can do that whole thing. That's fine. I don't. On my Titanic 2, I don't want it to become like the Disney World of Titanics. Like there is an element of risk that you're taking into your own hands when you board.
You can smoke, so you can smoke indoor. You can smoke at the dinner table.
Rule number 1: you must smoke indoors.
Oh, by the way, think about how much like drugs they had on board the Titanic.
Opium.
Yeah, that everything was legal. So there was definitely like hash, opium.
Yeah, they probably like kids were getting stomach aches and they're like, here's some cocaine.
And there's 100%
which is known to cure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Prostitutes for sure. There will be prostitutes on Titanic too.
I think you should cast everyone in roles.
I'm in.
So you have to apply.
I'm in.
People would do it. I'm telling you, this is maybe my best idea ever. I've been trying to get people involved in it. I tried to get Damon John from Shark Tank involved in it. He passed. That was stupid. But this is the smartest thing I've ever come up with. Titanic 2, brought to you by PFT commenter.
What's a ticket gonna run?
Good question, Big T. I think that
Same price. As if you want to keep it real, dog, I get this. What is it, like a $5-10 ticket? Don't back out now.
I got investors I have to answer to. I don't know.
Oh, you fucking coward! This was the original experience, my G.
With inflation, the prices.
Yeah,
with
price
inflation.
with inflation.
JP Morgan,
Okay.
like the best tickets were $300.
There you go. $300 for the best tickets.
Yeah, the best tickets were $300.
I don't know if this is going to be profitable anymore.
Well, if you take the 300 and those times make it now, it's probably like
One of the two
Gotcha, okay,
parlor
that's what I'm
suites
saying.
on the Titanic cost $4,300, which is $50,000 today.
50 grand. That sounds reasonable. 50 grand for
That
the
was for
parlor
like
suites.
top of the line. Though.
Top of the line. You've got your own butler in those. You've got, I think it's like 3 different bedrooms that you got. Those are the suites that the old people that didn't even like talk to each other would rent out. It's like the $50,000 suite with 3 bedrooms for 2 people. The old man would sleep in one, the old woman would sleep in another, and the third was just for, whatever, all their shit.
Third class passengers paid between $15 and $40, which is between $170 and $450.
Okay, yeah.
That's my warehouse. That's my way. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna try to swank me a first class shorty, and we gonna run amok in the Titanic.
And then she's
too.
going to kill you at the end.
For sure. But hold on, how true there were no black people on the Titanic. So how true do you want to make this?
I think it's, people of all races are welcome on board my Titanic too.
I just want
Right.
the coal fire for 10 days.
You can work down.
I want the fire to actually happen.
Okay.
So just for the structural integrity of the boat to be compromised. You have to have that.
I'll have a minor coal fire.
Well, then we're not sure.
We'll have like a barbecue inside.
Okay, that's cool.
All right. So, and I'm talking like the same dishes, same meals that are served. It needs to be a completely accurate replica of Titanic 1.
I got bad news. So, a couple of the myths that weren't actually true. The Titanic band, not really true, and the giant black Newfoundland dog named Rigel or
Newfoundland?
Regal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Newfie?
yeah, wasn't real either.
What dog is that?
There was a giant dog saving people in the water and pulling them up.
Why are you going to teach me about a dog that I wish was real, that I didn't know existed, and tell me that it's not?
Well, everyone wanted it to exist.
I still
Because
believe
dogs don't do shit like that,
that's
man.
not true. They used to put barrels around St. Bernards and send them out filled with brandy to rescue people on avalanches.
Way more humans have rescued humans than dogs have.
Billy,
Fuck
where
dogs.
did you see that the band wasn't real?
I saw that the band, there was a band, but when shit hit the fan, they weren't just playing on the.
As they should have. That's
Yeah.
dick move. Whoever's call that was to sit there and like, yo, my nigga, these niggas gotta feel comfortable while the ship is sinking, and that's what we hit. Fuck y'all. I'm getting on these boats, nigga.
You remember the lady in the movie Titanic, the New Money Texas oil lady? I think it was played by Kathy Bates, right? Mm-hmm. She went back and she saved a bunch of people. She was a real person. So she was helping
Really?
get people into the lifeboats because everybody was panicked on board. She was organizing folks, getting them in there, getting them lowered down. Even though she was one of the most wealthy people on board the ship, she was taking things into her own hands. They went out on a lifeboat. Finally, she got in one, got lowered into the water. She kept saying, we need to go back and help people that are in the water right now. The person who was in charge of that lifeboat was like, if you say another word, I'm going to throw you into the ocean because we're going away. We can't go back. They'll drag our ship down. They'll drag our lifeboat down. She waits a couple minutes, grabs an oar, holds it up against the dude, and she's like, take us back or I'm pushing you overboard right now. They took her back. She saved like a bunch of people's lives, brought her up into the lifeboat, and then went away. So she's a real one. Respect to Kathy Bates' character in Titanic. I forget her actual name. It's probably disrespectful of me, but Kathy Bates did a great job honoring her service.
Damn, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a real part.
Meanwhile, Rose couldn't share a fucking door with Jack.
She's a piece of shit. Rose is
Fuck
the
her.
biggest piece of shit on the boat.
Maritime law is actually pretty cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like, they were probably totally allowed to shoot somebody and just be like, yeah,
Yeah, no,
preventing our escape.
I think the rule is if you're a captain, you can kill anybody on board. And then if there's a mutiny, if enough people get mad at you as captain for killing somebody and they can take the boat by force, then that's chill too. It's like, okay, now they're the captain. I am the captain now. I think
Hey, look at me.
Yeah, maritime law it's pretty metal.
I mean, it's one of those situations where you get out there and you realize like you can get away with a lot because the only people out there are you and the guys.
Yeah, it's
And
jungle
what
rules.
What happens. It's GTA.
Yeah. No, it's pretty sick.
How true to form? How true to form are you with the women and saving women and children thing?
So are you talking about like what I believe happened on board the Titanic?
You say that one more time, bro.
Are you saying? Are you asking me if I'm on board with that in terms of like, do I believe that happened on the Titanic?
No, like if it happens.
Oh, from an ethical standpoint, here we go.
Yeah.
I think I am but mostly for selfish reasons, mostly so that I don't get remembered as being an absolute coward.
So you're doing it just so people don't think you're a coward.
I
but
think
you totally.
I think primarily, yeah. I understand it in theory. Like I would want my children to survive. I would want women to survive. But ultimately, like the survival instinct is a real thing, where it's like you start to look out for number one. But yeah, I think what would push me over the edge and make me not be a selfish prick is just because I didn't want other people to think I was a selfish prick.
It doesn't logically. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I think, in theory, it does. I think all children, yes, but just women doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not even far from a misogynist, but I'm like, don't break up families. Like if you're there with a family, because then the kid, that's child. Like they have to see their families. I'm like, if you have a family there, all families should be straight. Like all families should be straight. Like if there's single women on there, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I mean, that's what they telling us, right? That's what they tell. It is what it is. Like, I don't know. Don't rip me away from my daughters and sons because I got a dick. Like that's a dick move. I don't know, man. I could be wrong.
I think if you're a dad on there and you've got kids, you can't be like, all right, your kids are gonna be safe. Sorry, we're gonna kill your dad.
Yeah,
and then, I don't think that's fair.
And then you go, and then they go off, and now they say you were the only parent there. You weren't a woman, and now I just can't. And now my kids are fatherless and motherless because of what? Like, and what principle is this? Like, I don't know, man.
People did dress up as women and get on the lifeboats.
Really?
Yeah, Helen Bishop claimed her ex-husband Dickinson Bishop did just this and divorced him 4 years later after the Titanic sank.
See, that's what I don't want to be known as. This Dickinson guy. What's his name?
Dickinson Bishop.
Dickinson Bishop. What a prick name too. Like, come on, man. Dickinson Bishop is your name, and you're gonna go down as being like the biggest asshole ever. That's a little on the nose.
Yeah, the captain did go down with this ship.
Yeah,
he's the last guy allowed off the ship.
But respect, because like you got us into this fucking mess.
Well, he may have been set up.
Unless it was a U-boat.
Yeah, good point.
His last words were, "Well, boys, you've done your duty and done it well. I ask no more of you. I release you."
I don't know that they did it well, to be honest with you.
You know the rule of the sea. It's every man for himself now.
That's a dick move, Big C.
No,
I mean, we're sitting here. We wouldn't be talking about it if they did their jobs well.
They lowered their lifeboats in that were like halfway full.
And it was like an hour after it started sinking. Like that was the first lifeboat that they got out with. It took an hour.
Yeah. But you're right, Billy. You just said like the rule of the seas.
Yeah, every man for himself.
Yeah, just shit like that. It sounds kind of cool to say when you're just like, we're under the care of the sweet Lord and the high seas right now.
Yes, I mean, the thing is, my argument on the women and children thing is that all the men back then, even like, you know, if they were some ritzy ditzy dude, they all had some sort of like sailing or like military training. Because everyone was just fighting in wars all the time.
Not back then, I don't think.
Yeah.
What was the last war?
Well, the British Navy, they had mandatory service. Most places had mandatory service. So you had very able-bodied men who knew how to deal with like those sorts of situations.
Yeah.
So there was that advantage that they had in survival skills that would be like why they'd give the lifeboats.
I have heard, though, that the band played on board the deck. They might not have played as the ship was going straight up into the water, but the band was definitely playing, right?
The band was playing in the upper class seating lounge while it was sinking and everyone was packing their things. but there's no reports that they actually were on the deck while they were filling up lifeboats.
You know what song it's reported the last song they played?
Near my
Flight of the
God to
Bumblebee.
thee.
So, do you know what else is like that song with like bad apocalyptic connotations to
No.
it? That is the song Ted Turner, when he started CNN, had the U.S. Army band record a version of them playing that song, and that's what CNN's going to play as the world ends.
That was.
And they still have it.
That's what Ted Turner want. Ted Turner is just like a complete psycho.
Beautiful song, by the way.
Very good song. Yeah. How do you square your opinions on CNN with your opinions on the Atlanta Braves?
I don't.
Kind of owned by
Well,
the same
they're
guy.
not anymore.
Yeah, but really they got to where they are because of Ted Turner.
Ted Turner did a lot of great things for the Atlanta Braves.
So you're okay.
I don't know that I'd say the same
This
thing
is you
about his
separate-
impact on the American media.
This is you separating the art from the artist.
correct.
Gotcha.
Did a lot of great things for a lot of Braves fans all across the country because that was like the only team on national TV every night.
Also, other myth, they weren't advertising the ship as unsinkable before it went because they didn't want to give anyone the idea that it could possibly sink. Just every boat was marketed as this thing won't sink.
Yeah.
It's hard to sell something, but there were sinkings before that.
Yeah, if Delta Airlines came out with a plane, they're like,
Yeah.
this plane is not going to crash.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, okay.
There was the idea that the bigger the boat, the harder it was to sink. So big boats were always considered safer.
Yep.
So that's why, the advertising of the Titanic was what they pushed. So that when it sunk, everyone was like, we thought it was unsinkable because it was marketed as this giant, impervious structure.
How big was this iceberg? Do we know? Do they name icebergs?
100 feet out of the water, it was reported.
Is that big as far as icebergs go?
Yeah.
100 feet is pretty tall. That's what? How many stories is that?
33 yards.
So that's what, like 9 stories, 8 stories out of the water?
10. I think every story is about 10 feet.
Yeah, but then you got to include like the roof,
Yeah.
the basement. I don't know. Yeah. So, but there's always like 4 times as much iceberg underneath the water as there is above it, right? That's what they say.
I think I did
Tip of the
read
iceberg.
400 feet somewhere, like below the water.
400 feet below the water. So it absolutely fucked the boat up.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
100 feet is, it says on here 9 to 15 stories because one story is usually almost 11 feet.
There we go. Okay, 9 to 15 stories. So here's where the iceberg story starts to fall apart in my brain. I feel like we would know more about this iceberg if it was a legitimate thing. I feel like we would have sent people out to do an expedition to the iceberg and probably would have blown it up.
Well, icebergs, I think, are pretty dodgy in the scheme
What
of
do you
things.
mean?
Like, they hit a current and then they melt. Like, that iceberg could have been halfway to Mexico by the time they picked it up because of the Gulf Stream.
I was going to say,
It just melted.
but don't you think if an iceberg was that big and took a blow as big as the Titanic that you could see like a crater almost.
Yeah, like a football helmet
Yeah.
that has the other team's paint on it.
Yeah.
There should be a mark on this iceberg.
There should
We
be a mark on the iceberg. And don't you think you would have had also don't you think people would have gone out there pretty soon after the Titanic
Yes.
sank and taken a picture of it?
Or gone out for vengeance. If my relative died on the
But
Titanic,
what would you have done to the iceberg? to
blown
get
it up,
vengeance?
fucked it up. I would have brought a crew with me.
I think there's a good amount of icebergs in that area.
Well, then why were they steering a fucking ship through there?
We'll never know.
I
No,
heard that there were
it's
2
like-
icebergs. There allegedly 2 icebergs.
Ships have, icebergs were a problem back then.
Why didn't they just go around them? Why
They
didn't
weren't
just
the
steer
first
south?
people to hit icebergs.
I just don't think that they were a person hit icebergs.
I think just the Titanic was because everyone thought the big boats would get. I think a abnormally large iceberg just hit an abnormally large boat and basically caused the Titanic to sink.
I've really become a U-boat guy in the last hour.
yeah.
Yeah, but the U-boat thing.
So have I.
The U-boat thing. By the way, for those who don't know, a U-boat is a German submarine that was hugely instrumental.
Wait.
Are you mansplaining U-boats right now?
Well, not a lot of people know what U-boats are. We've just been talking about U-boats. People probably think it's a boat. No, it's a submarine.
Okay. All right. So when I say U-boat, I'm not pointing fingers at Germany. I'm saying it could have been any type of maritime, like in any sort of aggressive naval appliance, any sort of ship equipped with artillery.
I'll point fingers at Germany. Fuck those guys.
Okay, Big T's claiming it's Germany. I think it could have been any ship that had weapons that took the Titanic out. I don't think it was an iceberg.
QAnon's team U-boat.
No, they're not. You're just
They are.
no.
Now he's just going to say everything's
You're
QAnon.
making that
No,
up.
QAnon's team U-boat, because they're saying that there was a premise that all these huge bankers were in bed with like fueling wars and everything's just puppet masters behind.
But what's wild is that there are international financiers that are puppet masters that have fueled wars. That's literally happened like hundreds of times. I'm not saying the same people that the QAnon people are saying. I don't know why they sunk the Titanic. I'm not out here to be like they had a frozen supply of adrenochrome that they were taking across the Atlantic Ocean. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I think it's worth asking. All I'm doing is asking questions, Billy.
Okay.
All I'm doing is asking questions right here. I think that it's fair to say we need to do a second autopsy. We need to dig up the corpse of the Titanic. Why? That's another thing. Why haven't we brought this Titanic up to the surface?
No, we checked it out. They do think it was just the coal fire weakened the hull of the boat, and then when it hit a giant iceberg.
But how do we know that if we haven't even brought the ship up to the surface to investigate it?
There's no way we can't. I think from my understanding, that the ship coming from that amount of pressure couldn't withstand the pressure of it coming back up.
There's got to
From
be
my
a way.
understanding.
Yeah, just break apart on the way up.
There's got to be a
Because
way.
it's been 100 years, bro. There's not much that's 100 years
When
old.
was the anniversary?
2012.
Yeah. Well,
We should have done it on the 100-year anniversary.
Bring that bitch back up.
I'm the only person that has big ideas when it comes to Titanic. Everyone else is just like committed the Titanic to be a part of forgotten history, except for James Cameron. Shout out JC. But I feel like I'm the one that's leading the Titanic awareness renaissance at this
but
point.
plenty of smaller boats hit smaller icebergs and sunk before the Titanic. The Titanic just hit a gigantic iceberg. They never actually. Here's
How do you know the size of the iceberg, Billy?
Because
We
they
haven't-
say
we didn't
from
send a
the damage
squad
they
out
think
there
it was
to
that.
fuck it up.
So, in my opinion, you know what, Spin Zone, this is what actually happened. They never thought they'd seen iceberg that large there because they didn't know about global warming breaking off ice from the Arctic Circle coming all the way down there.
Okay,
Boom.
had global warming started at that point?
They was just
I don't think so. Industrial
How much
Revolution was
coal-
what,
you know
the
how much-
20s?
how much coal they were burning.
There were a
back
couple
then?
industrial revolutions.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was prevalent at that time.
Are you
I think it
guys
started
saying,
amping up like.
am I?
Go ahead.
Everyone's just going global warming isn't true and QAnon theories over here.
Yep, that's right, Billy.
I'm not a U-boat guy. I'm an iceberg guy, but I don't think the iceberg had much to do with global warming.
All right, so Aaron, you're officially on record that you think that the official explanation that we've been given for the Titanic is what happened.
I do. I have no reason to believe not. I've heard you with the U-boat thing. It is a lot of, yeah, man. But have you thought about? It's a lot of that going on.
But have
not
you
a
thought
lot.
about
Not a
it?
lot of. But have you thought about? Do your research, man.
Yeah,
It's
do your
one of
research.
those. It's one of those things. I don't think I'm emotionally invested enough in it to care either way. But the evidence to me seems to say that it was probably an iceberg, and it's probably hubris. It's probably Icarus.
Would
Icarus.
you
I'm sorry.
care if it came out that it was a U-boat? Would that make you care more?
No, not in the slightest.
Interesting.
It's been so long. Yeah.
It's
So-
a 100-year. I'm supposed to get mad at a 100-year beef? Like, nah.
It was also sunk on tax day. Just something to think about. Billy's rolling
I'm
his
just
eyes
putting it
again.
out there.
Is that
I'm just
also a
putting it out
QAnon
there.
thing?
It's actually crazy.
The deep state loves the symbolism and numbers, Billy.
I mean, QAnon is literally just historical fiction.
Yeah.
That's just. I mean,
Some of it's fun. So I ain't gonna lie. Some of it's
I'm
fun.
not
Just
going to start reading it because I don't want to start reading and be like, wow, this is like really good alternate history.
Billy would so get sucked into QAnon
I
theory.
would not. I would not.
A lot of the history books they taught you in school are historical fiction too. Don't forget that.
I know.
What's
Like what, nigga? Like what?
There's a
Like
lot
what?
of no. That's what your side says, is that all the history
Like,
we teach
what
in
is
school
my
is
side?
fake.
Your side.
What is my side?
The libs.
No, we don't. All we say is you leave specific shit out and it's told through a lens of a
Okay,
white
yeah,
man.
that's
what my. But that's the truth.
Mikey,
You know,
Mikey, can we get just a clip of Big T saying the libs?
The look.
oh man.
I mean, what people don't talk about the Civil War is how they had 2 armored ships fighting for the first time. That was pretty sick.
Again, the siege
They had
medal. Yeah.
what was it called? Like the Monitor versus like the Crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
No, or what was? They had like these 2 armored ships, and they were just like steel plated, and it was the first time in history that 2 like very advanced naval sort of tanks basically went at it. You don't talk about that.
That's not included in our fake.
Yeah,
news
why aren't they
textbooks.
telling us about that?
Yeah.
The Monitor and the USS.
The
Monitor and the
vaguely remember
Merrimack.
something like that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I vaguely remember something like that. But
Battle of Hampton Roads.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, they just they like literally were in these giant metal coffins, just shooting giant cannonballs at each other.
All right, let's take a vote. How many people in this room believe that there was an iceberg? 1,
Aye.
2,
Aye.
3. Wait,
I'm both. I think the Germans / whoever had the U-boat knew
Classic
when.
flip flopper.
No, I said this earlier. No, you're fake news. I said this earlier. Whoever had the U-boat knew that they were going into some treacherous territory, specifically positioned themselves there to make the Titanic hit the iceberg. I think they both happened.
so you're saying that the U-boat revealed themselves, let the Titanic know that they were being chased.
No. They took the Titanic and downed it when they knew it was going to be either to make it hit the iceberg or when it was close to the iceberg.
So they
Are you saying they got hijacked? Are you saying they got hijacked?
No. Wherever the U-boats
This is confusing,
positioned
Big
them,
T.
I said this earlier. The U-boats positioned themselves to be. They knew where the iceberg was, whether the Titanic did or not, and they sunk the ship next to the iceberg and either made it hit it or made it look like it hit it.
Or they pulled the iceberg in
They
front
put a
of it.
giant net around it.
Yeah.
What about this? What if the people in the U-boats started the Industrial Revolution, the first Industrial Revolution, to increase carbon, emissions into
Yeah.
the atmosphere that would then in turn break off part of the North Pole that would then travel down into the pathway of the Titanic 30 years later?
The thing is like
That's a lot.
Yeah, actually, probably the easiest explanation would be that they did put a hijacker or an assassin on board, and his job was just to steer the ship directly into an iceberg.
But how would he have done that? Because he didn't like hurt or kill the captain.
I don't know. Maybe the captain owed some money.
Did any of the crew survive?
I think some of them did. Most of them passed away.
I think the ones who did get out were like the guys who were jumping on lifeboats they shouldn't have. So most of them were just laying low.
Yeah, changing their name when they
Yeah.
got to Ellis Island.
Yeah.
Everybody's last name is Dawson now.
Yeah. So wait. So Big T, you were saying that Fenway Park opened up later on that week?
Same week, yep.
Do you think anybody was on the
That was-
Titanic and attended?
Probably. Yeah.
Because those were all the high rollers.
Probably, you probably gotta take a week off after
Yeah,
you
that's
see
a
like
quick
1,000 people
that's a
die.
quick turnaround to go to a baseball game.
That'd be like the first thing I would want to do. Is I would want to just like, live my life. Every day is a present.
But I feel like there'd be a certain amount of PTSD. You just saw a tragic event where like crowds of people might trigger you.
Yeah. good
In a
point.
newly built structure.
I would move to Florida. Be like, no ice.
Actually, funny story. There's a guy named George Beauchamp who escaped. He was the sole person to escape with his life from 2 of the worst maritime disasters of the 20th century. He survived the Titanic, and then he got on the Lusitania.
What?
Oh wow.
He was working in the engine room of the Titanic, and he got a job as a fireman stoker aboard the Lusitania.
And he survived that one too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, it's not that impressive. Well, it's impressive, don't get me wrong. But his second survival is not that impressive because when the ship starts to go down, you're like, I've done this before. I'm way more equipped for survival than anybody on this boat. So it's actually, that makes sense how you survive 2 of them.
And also, I think with all these historical coincidences that we don't understand, like everyone's got 6 degrees of separation nowadays, and we're, 7 billion people? The population was a lot lower back then.
Yeah. You know what
What was it?
the average lifespan was? I think about 50 years.
It was like 50. But then because of vaccines and modern medicine, we have upped that to mid 70s ish.
So want to give a shout out to Margaret Brown, the unsinkable Molly Brown. That is the lady that was played by Kathy Bates in Titanic. Shout out Margaret Brown, the unsinkable Molly Brown. Saved a lot of people's lives that day because she took the lifeboats back when they were saying, we're going to throw you overboard if you keep asking us this.
She should have doxed homeboy that said that.
Yeah, she should have. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Because the shame that they would have to live with, like, would be just like you don't want to be known as that, like the dude that wouldn't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she should have doxed him.
It was literally, back then, it was about 1.5 billion people.
Really?
Which is a seventh of what it is now.
That is how math works.
I know, but like think about it. So everyone involved was just so much more interconnected to different things.
The wealthy people on there, that's insane to me. That many, like, it was like 3 or 4 of like the wealthiest.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. That's
But I feel like that was sort of like going on the Titanic would be like attending. I don't know.
Like what was the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the biggest disaster, like Woodstock 99 or like Firefest? I went to the Firefest. If I could meet an actual Firefest survivor, that'd be really interesting.
I played high school football with one of them.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want to have him on the show? He's a rapper now.
No.
Okay.
No. Definitely not.
Hey, put his link in the group chat. I'll check him out.
I'll put his SoundCloud.
Hey, does he suck?
I'm very supportive of all my friends' work.
There you go, Billy. I love it.
Wow. Hey, whoever your homeboy is, he just told you on his podcast
I think
that
it's
you
I
fucking
think it's
suck.
good. I think it's good.
Yeah, probably trash, but send that shit anyway because I'll give him a listen.
All right, so I think we've reached an agreement that there was that there might not have been an iceberg. We don't know. We'll never know.
No, we have not, but we did not reach that agreement.
We'll never know. We need to.
The burden of proof lies in your hands.
All right. Well, at the very least, I think we've reached the agreement that they should rebuild the Titanic for Titanic 2.
I'm on that.
Okay.
I'm on that.
There we go. I think maybe we should. We got a couple other things we got to get into here. You guys want to do the Tennessee Minute? You want to do the Tennessee Minute recap of Tennessee football?
Let's do it.
People love the Tennessee Minute.
Big T looks so pumped.
Big T, you ready to do this?
Sure.
I've got the little mini guitar here, so we got a theme song for the Tennessee Minute. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top down in the Tennessee hills. Ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bills. Once I had a girl on Rocky Top, half bear, the other half cat. Wild as a mink, but sweet as soda pop, I still dream about that. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee.
All right.
He's actually on Spotify. Actually, he's made a lot more music than I.
All right, now it's time for the Tennessee Minute. Big T, take it away.
We did unfortunately lose 41-34 to Pitt on Saturday. A lot of too many turnovers, too many missed throws. We gave up 27 points in the second quarter. That wasn't good. But our boy Tyler Barron he had 4 tackles, 2.5 for loss. So really driving his value up this week. Hendon Hooker came in, backup quarterback, played really well. He also reached out to Madeline. Apparently, Tyler's going around the locker room just letting everybody know that Arian's handing out bags, so he also wants to get involved. He came in, played pretty well. So he may.
I do want to put out PSA to our dude Tyler, though. I'm fair, but stop trying to pimp me, dog. I see my man with a chicken wing promo on his IG page because I follow him now. Ain't no way them niggas gave you 2 bands, folks. So, like, I'm all for if you charging everybody 2 bands, let's do this shit. But if you trying to get me because I got it, I ain't with that. That's bad business, man. I don't play that. You know what I'm saying? Holla at me, doggy. Holla at me.
All right, I think that's fair. That's fair. I still respect him though for asking for it. That's not going to change.
The respect is still there, but game respect game. So it's like if you got the balls to do that to me, you gotta understand that I got the balls to do it back to you. Let's get you paid, but come on, come on, my nigga.
There we go. I hope Tyler's okay after suffering what looked like a devastating injury when they just coincidentally happened to have 10 players on the field in the red zone on defense, and it looked like he got sniped.
Yeah,
hit the ground.
I hope he's doing okay. Josh Heupel was non-committal on his status this morning.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. I just hope he's alive because it looked like
heads up play.
Yeah.
Heads up play.
Yeah, it was
heads up play.
Pretty funny. If you haven't got a chance to take a look at it, go look at Tyler Barron hitting the deck. We will have an update on Tyler soon. Hopefully. Are we good? We good, Mad Dog? What's the deal with Tyler?
Avery's been dealing more with that.
Okay.
I think Avery has more of a.
He's got an update on him. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll check in with him.
So Tyler's sitting in our DMs right now, but rest assured, Tyler, we will get to you. But Avery is at a Barcelona Classic right now, so I don't want to like interrupt negotiations if they've been had.
Avery and Tyler negotiating with each other.
I love it. All right, that concludes the Tennessee Minute. Arian, unless you have anything else you'd like to add to the Tennessee Minute.
That fast offense shit don't work though.
Slow it down.
Patience.
Shit dumb.
We're gonna figure it out. We got Tennessee Tech this week. Then we're going to Florida 7:00. It's gonna be
big L. They want to take
I unfortunately think so. Also, let's just see what happens.
All right. That does it for the Tennessee Minute on macrodosing. We also have some voicemails we want to get into, but we're gonna move forward with what we discussed last week, which is the mini dosing. What are we calling it?
We're calling it nano dosing.
Wait, Billy threw out nano dosing today.
I like
nano dosing, especially because my homeboy thinks nano means robots. So yeah, I like that.
Nano dosing. All right, we'll call it nano dosing. Also, want to just get a feud going. Fuck Son of a Boy Dad. Fuck that podcast.
Yeah,
there's some bitches.
They're talking shit.
They're talking shit, and guess what? We'll stomp you out. Bite the curb, bitch.
Yeah, all that.
Put me on game. I'm unaware of this. What's going on?
Son of a boy. Well, little Sasquatch, king of New York.
He thinks he's the king.
He thinks he's a king. Spends all his time at the bank. I never see him at the gym
or the kingdom.
That's all I'm saying. I never see him in the octagon. Little bitch can't fight. And he's talking shit.
If y'all riding, I'm riding. I guess it's off principle, but
Little Sasquatch said Arian Foster's a bitch.
He ain't say that.
He did. He typed it. He didn't say it out loud.
He ain't type it and he ain't say it.
I think I heard different.
Him and this dude Roan running around eating food.
Run around eating food. Classic. Yeah. Classic. Fuck those guys.
They think they chug milk too.
They can't. They can't do shit. Fuck them. They don't want the smoke. That's all I'm saying. A little podcast beef. Never hurt anybody. Fuck them. Their podcast. They think they got a podcast that comes out on Tuesdays. We got a podcast that comes out on Tuesdays.
We're King of Tuesdays.
King of Tuesday. That's right. We're the
King of Tuesdays.
We're the King of Tuesdays.
And possibly Thursdays and Fridays now.
And possibly what?
Thursdays or Fridays now.
Oh shit! Sucks to be them.
Nano dose. They don't got no nano shit.
They got no nano dads.
They don't got the limited nano release drop.
All I'm saying is they're gonna have to invent new days of the week for us pretty soon because we're gonna dominate them on all the other ones. So tough day to be a Son of a Boy Dad listener. Sorry that you had to hear him get bodied like that. But we will be releasing our nano dosing on. Are we doing it on Thursday?
We can do Thursdays.
Let's do it Thursday. I like Thursday. Mikey podcast.
Thursday
Thursday. All right, Thursday's when it's coming out. So we got some voicemails. We'll do one today. Are we going to do the Arian question today?
Oh, yeah, Arian, did you think about that question from last week about giving everyone that on this podcast a superpower based on their personality from last week?
I did not. I apologize.
No, you're good.
But I want to tell you this. Circle back next week, and I got you.
Okay, luckily we have good voicemails today.
Just somebody, just a little reminder in the text
I know,
chat.
I should have texted you last night.
Little selective memory with the CTE, but it's all good. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay, but
All right, so are we going to do one today?
we'll do one today and then listen on Thursday for our first nano episode. Is it nanodose or a nano episode? I'm going to call it a nanodose.
Nanodose.
So listen on Thursday for a nanodose, and those are going to be, I think we've nailed down, like 2 to 3. It's going to be like 15 minutes, 2 to 3 voicemails, and it's going to be only voicemails. So we're not getting into like more Titanic or anything. Just going to be voicemails. So remember to send in your questions to our number, which is, hold on, cut this. I'll pull up the number. So it's on our Twitter too, but hold on.
Okay, cut.
I know, cut this. Okay, so if you want, you can go on our Twitter. The number's on our Twitter. You can also call in at 347-560-0401 and leave a voicemail there. I go through all of them, and I will hopefully get to you guys. And so nanodosing is officially all voicemails all the time. So we'll do one here, and then the rest will be for later on Thursdays.
All right.
So I'll get the first one pulled up. Okay.
This is Jackson from Minneapolis, and I know you guys are big National Treasure fans, so I was wondering if you guys found the Book of Secrets, what is the one secret that you'd want answered, one conspiracy that you'd want to know about in that book? Love the show. You guys are all handsome. Thanks.
So if you guys can hear that, if you had the Book of Secrets from National Treasure, what is the one answer to conspiracy or a question that you have that you would want answered from there?
I got a couple. Just want to know if JFK was really killed by the mob. I think that's a pretty decent
But just
one.
what happened to JFK?
Right. Also, who sunk the USS Maine? Yeah.
The Maine.
The Maine.
Okay. What would you do with that information?
I don't know. I think like if the USS Maine got sunk, then the Titanic also got sunk,
Uh-huh.
and the USS, what was the one off of Hanoi?
Oh, you're talking about the Gulf of Tonkin?
Yeah, the Gulf and Tonkin.
Yeah.
That definitely got sunk too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, probably a bunch of other stuff was just manufactured.
All right. Aaron, what you got?
I would want to know about MLK. Give me all the info about that. Why y'all set him up? I know the FBI was on his bumper, CIA was on his bumper.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know the ins and outs of that one.
Big T?
I guess in terms of a specific one, aliens, just because, like, if there are aliens, that changes, like, everything about the world. But I'm big into, like, old U.S. I'd want to know if there's just anything with the Civil War. Like, I don't know what specifically, but I'm big into, like, Civil War history.
Like maybe
so-
there's another reason why it was fought that we weren't taught
Okay,
about growing
dude.
up.
Sure. No, that's so stupid.
No,
No,
basic.
I'm just saying, like, what if it
That's
came out?
so-
It's like, well, actually, it was a rising tariff song.
Well, so if you've watched National Treasure, the beginning of that movie is about, like, it starts in the Civil War. So,
but if there
interesting
was like
stories
another
like
reason
that.
that you could then point out and be like, see, I knew it.
that's
I know it.
no, that's so stupid.
I 100%
So
believe that there was the reason that the war happened was different than the reason why the people were actually fighting the war. They just had no idea and they were lied to.
I have no idea. I bet that there were a lot of people that just like joined the army in like the state of Virginia because all their neighbors did it. And they're like, fuck this. We're going to war.
Yeah, they were lied and said like the North is coming to fuck us up.
Yeah. I think I would want to know what our files on Alex Jones look like, whether or not he has ever cooperated with the federal government on any level whatsoever. Is he a CIA asset? Is what I'm getting at. That's what I would like to know. Either that or which president had the biggest dick. I think that'd be cool.
It's
too.
Johnson.
We don't know that, Billy. It was. I mean, I bet you Abe Lincoln was packing.
I was
Very
gonna say
tall.
just this Fury. It's just tall. He's tall, so I think
He also he had a super high voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how he could project to everybody in his speeches.
Mm.
He had a very like raspy like voice that was like high.
I would just like to know more about all the presidents and first ladies' sex lives. Really. I would like to know who had the most mistresses. Probably JFK. We don't know.
all of them had mistresses. All of them. All of them was fucking something on the side.
I would want to know which first lady gave the best top. Although I've heard that it was Nancy Reagan. She was called the blowjob queen of California for a while. This is true. I'm not saying it as like an indictment of Nancy Reagan. I'm a sex positive guy. I heard that she was like famous for giving head all the time before she hooked up with Ronald.
I heard Eleanor Roosevelt
Yeah.
may have pegged.
Go I'm gonna just real quick look up Nancy Reagan blowjob and see.
Also, I mean, of course, what the hell? I mean, would you think the Book of Secrets would include what the hell happened on Epstein's Island?
Sure.
No. right?
Depends how active Clinton was journaling.
According
Who
to
do you think writes in it?
According to Kitty Kelly's biography, Nancy Reagan was renowned in Hollywood for performing oral sex. Just Say Yes Nancy, in the days when she was Nancy Davis, was known to give the best blowjob in town. Not only in the evening, but in offices. That was one of the reasons that she was very popular on the MGM lot. So respect.
Well, I bet Reagan was very faithful.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to comment on that.
He was a movie star.
Um.
Bro, ain't no way you the leader of the quote unquote free world and you not tipping somewhere, dog. You tipping. Stop it.
I think Obama was very loyal. Him and Michelle are homies.
Fuck no. Hell no. Obama was getting on the side, bro. I promise you.
I mean, he's done a
All
great
was.
job keeping that quiet.
I would like to know about the Illuminati.
So does that.
So is
There was that one time that I think he was giving a speech out in California. I forget who he was giving it to, but he said, I'm going to do my Obama impression. You ready? Just want to say for the record, you guys have the most attractive attorney general of all the states, about Kamala Harris. And then people were like, huh, that's a weird thing for him to say. He was just like, I don't know if he was just putting like a vibe check out there to see if they're. Imagine though if they hooked up.
Do you guys remember that video of Trump after he got like his first presidential briefing and he just looked totally shell shocked?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck did they tell him?
Aliens?
That's what I want to know.
Maybe aliens.
Yeah, I would want to know about the Illuminati. That would be my.
Probably told him his job description.
Probably told him about the Nancy Reagan blowjob thing. He was upset he couldn't get it.
Well, Melania's probably cracking with it too, though. No.
Yeah, I would like to know who she was fucking for the last 4 years. 'Cause
Yeah, it wasn't Donald.
They didn't really live together, right? They didn't spend time together at all.
No, she mainly lived like up here.
Yeah. I heard that. Well, there was one rumor that was it a Tiffany and Company security guard that he works on the bottom floor of Trump Tower. It's been an open secret that he's been piping her down for the last several years. I don't know if that's still true or
Tiffany security guard?
not. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Solid.
All right. So yeah, that's what I would want to know.
Kind of low-key of a little fetishized fantasy of mine is to make love to a Republican woman.
I think we can make that happen, Arian. Slide into the DMs if you're a Republican. And you
Yeah, just highlight. We don't gotta talk about much.
You don't
We
think
know why we're here.
You don't think you ever have?
unbeknownst. Like,
Well, right.
maybe,
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
in college, there was just a lot going on. But I'm talking about as an adult, as a functioning member of society, paying taxes. No, because like usually, how do you court women is intellectually, or you be handsome, right? Which I'm like a 7. Yeah, I'm 6 or 7.
How far right are we talking? Are we talking like just fiscally conservative
I
or
want somebody.
anti-vax?
I want somebody who, if I talk to them at a bar, I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like,
We need to get Tommy
we don't have nothing in common, right? But like, it would be amazing just to have that energy build up, and then like we just go on about our ways, and like we enjoyed our night together, and it may make some common ground. I may see things differently, and so may she. You never know.
One Monday, Arian comes back and he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
My life has been changed.
All right,
I've been red pilled.
we can make it happen. And Billy, for the record, yeah, like anti-vax, is that a Republican thing?
No.
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 I don't consider that to be a Republican thing. I consider that to be like
it's driven by Republican
certain Republicans,
congressional people. I would say the majority of the anti-vax disinformation is coming from Republican politicians. It's not. I can't even say it because it's not like they're promoting it, but it's real undertones of they know what their constituency wants, right?
Yeah.
On the Democratic side, it's mostly just like super woke. A lot of black folk, a lot of just super woke people just doing way too much with the government trying to kill everybody and shit, which is the dumbest shit in the world, right? I was talking to my man the other day, and I was like, my dude, well, we already talked about that. Never mind, I don't want to get back into the vaccine conversation.
All right, so to listen to the rest of Nanodosing for more awesome conversations like what presidents fucked the dirtiest, listen up on Thursday. Thursday, coming out. Boom, Nanodosing. Done.
Do you want to do Big T's underwear?
Oh, yeah, Big T. What color underwear? Arian.
Gray.
Good choice. Like a somber, reflective Monday gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's gray.
Nailed it.
No, it's blue.
What? That's
Oh,
gray.
well, it is a gray waistband.
Okay, that's what I saw. It's blue.
But it's blue.
I'm gonna give you half a point.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we will see you guys next week or Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see you guys Thursday.
Love you guys.